Well, I know.
Head of the game.
We can maybe discuss what the actual rules are, because I'm not sure I totally agree with this. You can't record the public. If the public want to be recorded, perhaps they should be recorded. So they are in Bs. So
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a public meeting, and so the entire meeting should be recorded. I don't think there's any.
It says it in the policy which you reviewed.
It might, I appreciate it's for us to change our policy, but I think it is just something that's in our policy. I think it's something that we can change. It's a public meeting, and the public have an opportunity to speak.
They haven't yet been approved, so I can change
suggesting
it.
an amendment.
Okay.
It's a small. Right. Okay. We'll go on to item 4, which is one of my favourites. That's declarations of interest. Would any members like to declare any interests? No interest whatsoever. If you do think of anything interesting, please do say. Item 5 is also one of my favourites. It's a great agenda, in fact. That's Mayor's announcements. Did you ever receive the newsletter?
Yes, really nice.
Did you enjoy the 8 pages of Mayor's announcements?
Fantastic. It's been a busy quarter.
It has been very busy, and the only thing I really want to highlight as well is the wonderful Christmas switch on. I mean, it was just fabulous. We've been going to that farmers market for so long. That's the first time people were just coming up in droves saying, "Love that Christmas switch on. Done a great job." I said, "Oh yes, we have. Thanks, Martin." So obviously Martin put an absolutely huge effort into it, and the community trusted. But it's just so well received. So it's obviously very, very important to people that we have a big Christmas event like that, and it brings people together. So well done, and well done, community trust. Right, item 6 is to confirm the previous minutes. Would anyone like to raise any issues with the previous minutes?
No.
It's fine.
To sign.
Do you want me to sign them?
This means every page and date.
Yeah, this is new. You never used to have to do every page and date.
No, I got picked up on an internal auditor from another council, so I just do it.
Interesting. 4, 12, 20. It's painful when it takes so long to write your name. While I'm doing all these, we can go on to item 7. To note reports from the following committees and to ratify any actions. So the first one is finance and operations, and there's a separate agenda item, isn't there, to agree the policies?
I think we need to, not just the committee reports, but the working party reports and the outside body reports.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these could, if there is a report, it should be a written report.
We have asked for written reports, we never get them.
Exactly. So there should be a written report that can be circulated. So whether or not that, because the problem we have is our agendas are too long, and we get to the important items, which in this case are 15 and 60, the business plan and the budget and the precepts, and we find ourselves running out of time. And I think that if we want to discuss these things, perhaps the agenda needs to be reversed so that.
Well, what I would say is, to be honest, in terms of the committees.
Sorry, can I interrupt?
Well, not this second actually. I would say in terms of finance and operations, there was 3 policies, and we discussed an item, so there's nothing. There's also really nothing to report in addition to the minutes. And the planning committee, there's nothing to report in addition to the minutes. So in terms of item 7, I don't think we need to spend any time at all unless anyone disagrees.
Okay.
So we have I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So, I was just going to say, we've had the interim report back from the internal auditor. It's not very good, but it is good.
So internal or external?
Internal, we haven't had the external yet, we've had the interim from the internal auditor. I only got the report on Friday, so it will be going to the FNO on the 18th. He has suggested, and we will be following, that all the reports go to the bottom of the agenda, so it will be moved down to the bottom. And we took it off, but we need to put it back on. You also need to note the minutes from the committee meetings at full council. Remember we took it off a few months ago? They need to go back on.
Okay.
So that.
Yeah, that sounds
So
great.
next meeting, you'll be noting the minutes and all the various reports. We'll go down that.
Thank you very much. Right, item 8, reports from town councils. These are verbal, so thank you very much, Guy.
Thanks.
Thank you for Merry Christmas. So verbal reports, let's keep them short and sweet. Community Alcohol Partnership,
Still not started yet.
working on it.
Yeah.
Strategy Working Group did produce a draft strategy which has been sort of half incorporated into the budget. High Street Working Party. Sean?
Sorry, that's
That's the third one, that's the mid-map. Is that an update?
yeah. That's all on. It's ongoing. There'll be a meeting in January. A second meeting in January.
Brilliant. Brilliant, okay.
Do you want me to put in there that you are producing some maps? Or
If you like, the maps, the draft maps are produced on a sort of an A1 size. They need to be looked at by the business owners in the high streets to see if they like the formats and the design,
so I'll put draft in.
and then we'll get them out.
But that, see, I hate to be belligerent about it, but that isn't really part of the High Street Working Party, is it? Because we haven't met to discuss the maps, which I'm sure are wonderful, but
Well,
we have, as a council, we haven't had any input into the map.
the High Street Working Group,
Yeah.
well, I think you've got to look at the terms of reference of the group.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm on the group.
okay. Well, you said you were at the meeting where we discussed it then.
Well, I haven't I've only been to one meeting.
Yeah, because I'd been one meeting.
Yeah.
And at the meeting, we discussed in the short-term strategy, producing these maps.
Right.
So I have paid myself, a graphic designer, to create the map.
Well done.
So we now have a draft that we can consider at the working group,
Okay.
which also includes traders.
Okay.
And then once we get to that point and we've got a final design,
Yeah.
then of course we can bring that to the town council.
I mean, it's brilliant, thank you. But it's just,
That's the process that it needs to follow.
well, the process doesn't involve the council, that's all. I mean, I'm sure it's a wonderful map, but I don't feel that the
Well,
council has
actually,
much
Sean
input.
did bring it down tentatively to show a number of us at one meeting here. I looked at it, I
Yeah.
saw it. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to vote on it. But everybody needs to have some input, don't they? Like you said, the traders.
Well, the thing is, if it's a trade-oriented map, then that would be a trade group.
It's a work. Read the terms of reference for the working group. Understand that it was designed to create a short, medium, and long-term strategy involving in the working group both Midsummer Norton Town Council, traders, Baines, Wecker. The list of people that should be involved in that group is listed in the terms of reference.
But the council hasn't been that involved.
There's only been one meeting.
That's what I mean.
I'm
looking forward to going to the next meeting, that's what I'm saying, because it's great that it's happening, I just know, having been quite excited about this working party, I don't
Well, to be honest,
very involved in it.
I mean, let's not get into a battle about working groups, what they should or shouldn't be doing. I mean, we had the discussion at the F&O about the strategy working group. Shouldn't be putting things into the budget.
Well, at least the people in the strategy working group have had input into the strategy.
They haven't even produced a strategy.
Well, we have.
You haven't. You've had a WhatsApp group and then decided to add £61,000 into the budget. There's no documentation, there's no
But this is where we
viability, there's no supporting documents.
I feel we're digressing off the
Oh, we are
items, so
digressing,
we'll
but
go on
that's
to
because
item
you're
4,
not
which is the
understanding
Media and
the-
Communications Working Group, which has produced the newsletter, which I'm sure you've all read. And item 5, now the Midsummer Norton Neighbourhood Plan, Development Plan now, still very difficult to get feedback from, the feedback we deserve to get from Baines. I don't feel we're getting the support that we require. However, the strategy group have decided that we need to budget to get external help in for the neighbourhood plan. That's what other town councils have had to rely on. And further to the training I did mid-month, has everyone watched the training video for how town councils get the most out of the planning?
No.
It was actually very, very good.
Right.
It's well worth watching. And one of the things I picked up on that is we're eligible for a £10,000 grant towards neighbourhood plans. And apparently we can just ask for them, and we should get them. They have to be spent within the financial year, so it may be worth us waiting until after April. But that could also sort out some of the budget that we were thinking of the neighbourhood plan. So, the neighbourhood plan, one day. But anyway,
In the meantime, they were going to look into, or try to look into after Christmas, the idea of consultants that could
Yeah.
feed into that initial process.
Well, we need to really, resolve to ask the staff, I guess, to find some consultants, a list of them, so when we get available funding, we'd say, can you come and help us? Oh goodness. Is that not a good idea? We're going to have somebody in to help
And
us.
if you put a proposal
This one.
together,
Mm.
if you put a proposal together, we can stick it on January or the February
What would the proposal be?
to ask us to look for, because this is coming from a working party, so anything, recommendation from the working party needs to come to a committee or council for a proposal, and then it goes on from there.
Right. Did you see the email that I sent about where we can actually apply for the funding?
Yes, I know,
'Cause I haven't
and I know about that anyway.
Did you? Well, nobody had brought it to us before because we were thinking about adding it to the precept.
But you would need,
it's quite important for us,
just,
isn't it, to know?
just send me an email or send Katie an email, asking for it to go on the item as a proposal. and
Okay.
We can put it on.
So we need a proposal to say, can we find a list of neighbourhood plan consultants?
So
Okay.
it needs, yeah, it needs to be a proposal.
Right, thank you, Kate, we can do that. Okay, so that can maybe go on the next council agenda if we get the proposal
And the budget.
and the budget. Right, I can certainly try and email you again, that's fine. Right, so number 9, we've got reports from councillors representing outside bodies. So some short verbal reports from councillors representing the town council on outside bodies.
I went to the Youth Connect South West Young People's Awards on the 9th of November 2023. Yeah, Youth Connect, which I sent, circulated my feedback to all councillors directly after the meeting, and Gordon's included some of that in the newsletter. So it was a really good, positive evening in Bath, where young people who contributed and made progress or benefited from Youth Connect services were awarded prizes, certificates, and recognised their achievements over the year. And there was entertainment and a very good keynote speech. I forget the lady's name, but there, somehow I did put it into the notes. So yeah, very positive evening about all the work that Youth Connect does across the whole of the area. So.
Thanks, Brian.
I went along to Norton's Got Talent, which is a secondary school.
Which group?
Norton's Got Talent.
Norton's
Norton's got
Norton Hill School.
which is just a secondary school and showing musical and theatrical talents, and it was wonderful, really, really lovely. And I was saying to the Mayor, I really look forward to seeing that kind of thing outside of a school environment. So, maybe in our amphitheatre, in the town park, or one of our other venues would be amazing. We've got so much talent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe it's the new youth club
Yeah.
that we're hoping to start at the Summer Centre would seem to be perfect for it, wouldn't it? Maybe the children can largely be empowered to run it themselves. That's the dream, isn't it? I just realised, I don't think did we have apologies for absence today?
No.
I feel it's a little bit late now, but we probably should have apologies for absence. You can certainly accept any apologies. Yeah, for anyone who's absent. Right.
They weren't any anyway.
Right.
So we've already accepted Mike, haven't we, for 6
Mike
months?
and Charlotte.
Oh, did she
Eh?
say she couldn't make it?
I haven't had anything from Charlotte.
I'm inferring. I'm happy to accept an apology when I've got that. So, item 11 is co-option of town council.
Hold on. Is that the only 2 reports?
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Are there any other reports from outside bodies? Didn't mean to rush.
I haven't had a forum meeting yet.
No.
You skipped 10.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, 10. Well, it just says clerk's report. I guess we just have to note the clerk's report.
We've introduced this, we brought this back in again. Because we were doing things that you weren't aware of, so we just...
I think it's probably the most important thing to put on the
Really is.
reports is to understand what what the clerks are struggling with.
Yeah. So we just, it's what's there really.
Yeah. Are there any questions? Well, with Katie not being here, perhaps maybe you can ask questions by email. Right. Now item 11. Co-option Town Councillor. How many candidates do we have?
What?
Could be a tough vote. Are we allowed to? I wasn't sure.
I do need, well, it's entirely up to the councillors. I need a proposer and a seconder, if there isn't a proposer or seconder.
Well, I'd like to propose.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's fine. You can do it.
Sorry.
Propose to
Well done. A second. Excellent. Right, everyone in favour? Well done, everyone.
Just bear with me a moment, please, because I just need to do a bit of paperwork.
Congratulations, Sharon. Well done. Did you get to
I need to
start?
decide whether I sign my acceptance of office or whether I now run out of the
I do need to ask this question. The chair needs to sign it and then she can join the table. It needs to be signed, countersigned by the proper officer. Obviously that's Katie, she's not here. I can deputise because I'm deputy, so either I can sign it or two councillors can sign it.
Absolutely. And to get started straight away.
She does, yes, no,
Hey.
she signed it.
It appraised me that this might happen.
Come and join us on the other side.
They sent me the agenda pack, thank you, Kate.
And I will send you a declaration of interest. I can't speak and write something else.
No interest to declare. Apart from the normal one, but I'm assuming we've got a general dispensation for all of us on that one.
Sorry?
We do.
The general dispensation for all of us on voting on the budget and precept.
You don't, yeah, because you don't need one because it affects all of you. Just a quick question, before we set up your official .gov email, are you happy for your personal email to be shared in the meantime before we set up your .gov?
Not publicly.
And no, it would just be to councillors
Yeah. I think a lot of them have got it anyway.
until we can set up your official one.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 12. So we have 6. 6? Do we have 6 things? What's Appendix A? Anyway, we start off with the freedom of information policy. Do we have to propose and second
No,
all
just
these?
resolve.
Just resolve. So the first thing I wanted to raise was we're not sure about the policy on recordings of meetings. So is this the time to suggest an amendment?
I think we just need to check to make sure we're not treading on any toes by changing it. I assume this is where's the document come from, Kate? Is it an ALPA document or is it, what's the source?
From various councils.
Okay.
There
So-
wasn't a module one, so I took it to F&O and I'm just bringing it up. Can we go through these one at a time before jumping away? Are you happy with all the others apart from?
They've all been through F&O.
I hadn't picked up on that change to the recordings of meetings though.
I think so long as general public can say, so long as they're asked at the
Well-
beginning of the meeting, before it's switched on.
I'm not sure we need to be asked. I mean, public speakers come to Baines meetings, they come to planning meetings, they go to any Baines public meeting. Public have a right to come to and read statements. And that's included in the, I believe it's
I
called.
think so. Well, the thing is, in the Baines ones, though, don't you have the option not to be recorded or put the camera away?
We can check with other council. What I'll do is I'll give Kate a contact at a council that's very good at this.
Okay, it's the lady who's here, isn't it?
Because my understanding is that provided we're clear about the fact that it's a public meeting and it is being recorded, then that's what I mean. Any individual that doesn't want to be recorded can request that.
Yeah, so
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's the point,
Well,
yeah.
what it says a person or persons recording the minutes are reminded that the public participation here is not part of the formal meeting and that they should take legal advice for themselves as to their rights to make any recording. Sorry, I'm just looking.
I mean, I would point out that we could also be live streaming the meeting,
Yes,
Yeah.
which I'm not 100%.
which
I thought it was in there, but I need to.
well, we could under the same terms we could be live streaming in the same way as a lot of councils do live stream their meetings now. So the only thing that you can request as a member of the public is not to be videoed, but that you won't be. You'll still hear what you say.
Yes.
And actually, we don't actually record the public visually anyway
No.
in our meetings.
So we give them the option, because I've always had the option, but I don't. Sorry.
So, as you can imagine, this is something I deal with on a weekly basis, and I'm sure the rules are slightly different for us compared to the commercial world. But usually, the way that it's done for filming is as long as there is some kind of notification prior, then we're fine. So, for example, typically, as the public would come in, there would be a sign that says, basically, if you enter, you are saying that you're happy to be filmed.
Maybe
That's
wrong.
a
I'm-
thought, actually.
I may be wrong. I'm trying to find it in there.
My issue is that usually it's not a problem. I wouldn't like to think somebody didn't want to come to a meeting and ask a question because they felt uncomfortable for it being broadcast on the internet. I think they've got a right to say, I don't necessarily want my face to be on the internet.
But the face isn't on the
But that's-
internet.
Well, no, but I'm just saying that's part of the recording protocol. To say, you will not be filmed.
There are numerous ways of asking a question of the council. If you choose to do it in a public meeting, in a public forum,
Yeah.
then there are consequences of that in the same if you just want to send a private email to the public.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sharon.
So I've come across this before, and I actually have an issue about being, or did have an issue about having my face put onto the internet, and there's for reasons of personal safety. And I don't think that we should be in a position where people are prevented from turning up in person because it's automatically assumed that either they're going to be recorded in terms of a face or their name is going to be said. If you remember the first time I came to a council meeting, you wanted my name and I said I'd rather not give it. So I think that, as you say, when we do meetings in the NHS on Teams and Zoom, when we record the meeting, then a notification comes up. But you still have a right, or should have a right, to say, if you are going to publish this, I don't want my name to be mentioned and I don't want my face to be shown. And so that is the point.
But we can cover that though, it's easy.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
you
it
can
can
ask
be
someone,
covered, but
would
that
you like,
is
you
the position.
said it, would you like to give your name? They can say yes or no,
Yeah,
and their faces are never shown.
yeah.
Anyway, so
So-
I think that's pretty much
And
it.
I
that's a
think
point,
there's also some more on this, which also comes into one of the other things that's mentioned in that policy, and that is about liability. So if, for instance, somebody publishing this information or this video on the internet, and it was either libelous or it exposed somebody to danger or whatever, then whilst the policy here actually says you do this, if you're recording the meeting and you publish it, you do it at your own risk, I think it's really important that the policy perhaps expands and emphasises this boundary, because the town council's insurers will not cover the town council, even if it's an individual councillor who puts it up. Because the insurers, in terms of indemnifying the council, will say, well, it's the officers who should be acting on behalf of the council to publish stuff. And if it's just an individual councillor who's putting it up, and there is no mandate or delegation of authority, and it's not through the officers, because normally it's through the officers, there's a liability there that's actually
Not from public speaking, there isn't.
not from public speaking,
Right.
but from any video that's taken of this meeting and then put up on the internet. If it's done by an individual, regardless of who they are, if it's not got the officers' approval or stamp on it. It's not an official town council publication, and therefore it's not covered in terms of indemnity for that individual.
But this is exactly where we went before, because the previous council resolved that I should be allowed to publish to the council YouTube channel, which I set up while I was an officer. And then Paul Russell, our locum clerk, I think correctly now, with hindsight, said you cannot, because unless the staff have checked it,
Exactly.
you cannot put it under the town council logo, which is why I started using my own channel, which there's no problem, it's in a personal capacity, and that's where we're at now. So without getting the staff to do the recording, I think it's difficult, just because if someone does say something like Cheryl said, the council then becomes responsible for it, and it becomes murky. So that's why we are.
Okay, this is a public meeting, and it requires transparency with the public.
Yeah.
And we want to reach as wide an audience as possible, so that this council is fully transparent with all of our residents, to see what we're doing and how we're spending their money.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is for it to be on live on whatever channel it is.
Well, a couple of things that I don't agree necessarily has to be live, because that
It doesn't have to be
issues are
live,
issues.
but it
And
has-
secondly, as long as it is broadcast, it doesn't have to be in the town council's YouTube channel.
Well, the public have to be able to find it. That's the whole point of transparency. And trying to find somebody's private YouTube channel to find a video isn't the way that democracy works. Numerous councils have a YouTube channel or various channels where they put every video of every public meeting up there, so that the public can understand what's happening. That's democracy. And I think it's quite simple. We record the meeting, we put it up there. If you choose not to put the public questions up, that's another decision. But we need to do it.
I just want to interject here and just kind of take a little bit of the shine off of those strong words, like, because at the beginning this is done a lot as well, this transparency, democracy, all these big words. Essentially what we're talking about is we are the scale of the town council, where we have a certain amount of resources and we can apply certain practices. And where you kind of blur the lines of what the agenda is behind the desire to do these things, in my opinion, is that yes, we want to promote the council quite a bit, as much as we can in the ways we can. We've got a website, social media, potentially all those avenues which are free and kind of low resource to do things. And it's how we go about promoting the fact that yes, people can come to these meetings, and that is the transparency, effectively, if you want to use that word. They can listen, they can read minutes, they can understand things, they can ask questions, they can email us. There's no lack of transparency when people want to know or ask, they're interested in it, when it affects them. The one thing I have a problem with is that where it becomes a parade, effectively a carnival, where we are putting ourselves in a position where any one person can come here and promote themselves by talking in very strong ways about certain issues, which kind of feels unnecessary, and kind of that perhaps is what, I've listened to and viewed council meetings in the past. There was very much a strong presence of kind of self-promotion by certain individuals sat in the public gathering and everything like that. So there's a kind of element of like, why do we need to push it so hard when we haven't got the resources and the necessary scale and things like that, when there is a lot of measures.
So Tim, aren't we back down to just putting the council, forgetting not necessarily calling public questions, and just recording this meeting, which is what I think Sean.
There's no like specifics around that. I'm just trying to make it so it's a little less kind of, it's more logical in the sense that we approach it by, we want to go through measures, we look at a range of measures, not just bleat on about like one thing, one reason, when we don't actually know.
I think we're overcomplicating this.
Well, I think what I'm going to suggest is, because this isn't the correct meeting to be defining the policy and recording of meetings, as much as I'd love to, but it's not the right time. So what I'm going to suggest is, if everyone agrees, we will not adopt this new protocol now. Then we will have to convene at some point in the future, and as a council decide on a policy which we all agree on, because that's as a council what we have to do.
So decide whether
with
to
the
record the
staff.
public questions.
No, the council itself will have to have a proper discussion on what they want from their policy on recordings of meetings, and they'll have to check that's okay with the staff. Cheryl?
If this policy has come already from finance, can we not just refer it back to finance to take on board the comments of council and then come back again?
Kind of same thing. That's brilliant, Cheryl. Yeah, thanks. So, are we okay to resolve to accept the rest, formally adopt, but not item 4, which we will send back to finance and ops?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might not reappear until January, because the F&O agenda needs to go out next Monday, and that gives me a week to rewrite, which is a lot of time. So
That's
it won't
no-
be appeared till January.
That's fine. So in the meantime, we will carry on with our previous policy, which allows us to record. You okay with it?
Well,
You're not 100% happy, are you?
no, I'm not happy. No, no. I think these meetings need to be held there, and we're in a critical period at the moment where we're deciding how we're spending public money. And I think any way that we can help the public to understand what we're doing is good. And I think that the video should be up there.
Yes, well, somewhere.
I've just got one thing to say. We are open to the public if
We are.
they really want
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
to see. If anyone can come and sit in these meetings, can't they?
That's true.
But we have to adapt. I mean, we're going in circles here. We want to embrace as many.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing, but also until we get this sorted, because what we don't want to be is liable for something. You know, it's an age of you know, ambulance chasers and things like that now. So I don't want to be liable. I don't want to be liable for anything. So until we can sort out exactly what the legal ramifications would be, let's do what you've done tonight. Not record the public until we can find out whether we can. It'd be nice. I personally totally agree with you, Sean. But the way society is at the moment, and you know, risk and things like that. People are able to come and sit in any meeting and watch what's going on if they want transparency. But until we
Typically, Martin, the majority of people that come and speak at public meetings, and certainly in Baines, they've come because they want to make a point in the public domain, and they're looking for support for whatever issue they've got, and so they want the maximum amount of coverage on their particular issue.
So they're not going to be being recorded, are they? Let's be completely honest.
No, but then there is the odd one. I totally agree from every side. I set up the YouTube channel and I started posting to the Town Council's YouTube channel. It's quite sad for me to have to put Town Council meetings on my personal YouTube channel. That is not the most exciting content I wanted to produce on my personal YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel. It already contains council
set it up.
meetings.
Well, I know because I was told to stop doing it and I did. So, I know. Right, we shall revisit this. For the moment, we can continue the previous policy, though, which allows us to record, but not put it on the Town Council YouTube channel.
Sorry, one more thing then.
Yeah.
If this can't be discussed about until January, we've got another meeting or 2 meetings in between, or that means we're missing 2 meetings. Can we not have a little meeting somewhere along the line where this can be discussed and we can find out some more information on it?
Yeah, the correct way, I would say, personally, is if people want to discuss it, the correct thing is to set up an ad hoc meeting with the staff, for instance, and who might be able to produce some of the legalities of it and discuss what they want and come up with a proposal and bring it to council. That's the correct
That's all
way
we
to
need
do
to
it.
know, really, is the legalities of it.
Yeah. So, you know, if the staff wish to set
We're
up
not-
that meeting,
we're not
or
pushing
possibly
any
Cheryl
boundaries
can
here.
advise because you've
No,
got some good
no.
experience of these things. We just have to be careful as a council that we
All
don't
you
get
need
into
to
trouble.
do in the interim is you ask anybody who wants to speak, are you happy with being recorded? And then you're covered.
Yeah.
You
We
know,
can do that every
setting
time.
up ad hoc meetings to then go to council and whatever, it's just like, it's meetings and more meetings.
Well, we've got
And you need
meetings.
to give Kate a chance to put together.
We've got meetings queuing up to go out on YouTube.
Well, I think the issue though was the fact that, Cheryl, we're not allowed, because I've been prohibited from doing it, is posting anything we record personally onto the council's YouTube channel, and that is something that hasn't been resolved.
Well, no, what I've done is I've passed the recordings to the clerks.
Yeah.
So
So
they
also,
record.
I've even put them on the council YouTube channel for them to set to public, but they've been reluctant because they don't feel that that is necessarily a safe thing to do, and that was Paul's advice. So it is hard.
We
It's
have a lot
one of
of
these things that
advice from
seems a bit
I think you need to
procedural.
give the new staff a chance to get their feet under the table and to get to understand how
We've got our
this
feet under the table,
council
Cheryl.
works.
We just need
No,
to get
no,
this system
I
set
said
up where we can
staff.
put the videos so the public can watch them. It's quite straightforward. Lots of councils do it. Numerous councils do it. We're not breaking any any boundaries here. We know this is standard practice for a lot of councils. Standard practice. Okay.
Okay. Right. Thank you, everyone. Are you quite happy with item 12, Kate, that we have adopted everything apart from that?
I'm just having a look at your community engagement policy to see if it's in there.
Yeah, I think it's we've kind of rounded it off and that, so we don't need to pick that up, don't we? We need to know the bits of it are probably not now.
I mean, the viewing figures were never that high for our YouTube channel.
I'll do some investigation and I'll come back to you because I think I have seen it somewhere, but I need to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Right, if we can move on, everyone, to item 13, which is the proposal to reappoint Primrose Garden Maintenance for 2024-2025. Would anyone like to speak?
I'm just wondering if we've got any alternative quotes. Have we got 3 quotes on that?
We didn't because we didn't go out to alternative quotes because it is actually very difficult because you have odd bits of land and you need a company with the equipment, and Primrose are really the only one in the area with the equipment.
Thanks very much.
They've done it for quite a long time, haven't they?
I think what Sean might get at is that it's obviously not necessarily the best practice for value if you don't necessarily look at alternatives, but if there is a sort of nuanced reason why it's hard to get another contractor with knowledge to do it, we've got to justify that.
For ground work it's very hard because
would we have a policy whereby there's an amount that we have to go out to like a tender or alternative quotes for an amount of money, or is that just okay at 10 grand and that's kind of it in that sense? Or is there a policy that sort of allows that to be spent because it's a specific and sort of...
That's why it's come to full council because it can go to any, there's not really policy on how much you have to spend.
Yeah.
It's come to full council because the FNO only can approve up to 5,000.
Okay, I think what Sean's saying is value for money wise, normally we have alternative quotes to check value. How do we ascertain value? And sure, that's the case, and that's just the open question effectively. But if we trust that that's the case, then that's our choice.
I haven't had a chance to read the financial regulations, but as most people have pointed out, normally with public sector procurement you would be expected to get 3 quotes. Normally there will be a financial regulation that states something like that. Okay, and what was done in the previous council was when we had a situation like this, it entailed procedurally suspending that financial regulation that required 3 quotes in order to go for a decision that was just the 1 quote. In essence, it's the same as doing a single tender waiver. But the point is that if there is a financial regulation governing this council saying you have to get 3 quotes, and for £10,000, I would imagine there is, you need to actually make a decision to suspend the relevant financial regulation, which I suggest that is proposal is made now, before you then vote to approve that quotation.
In the context of trust,
that sounds very sensible, Cheryl. Well, would you like to make that proposal?
As opposed to suspending potential financial regulations on the basis that a specific quote for a specific job that only that company has the knowledge to do.
I'll second that.
Just want to make sure we're doing it properly. Because it might
Okay, for all in favour.
Just to find that.
All in favour, show of hands, that's fine.
They've done a good job over the years.
Exactly. Is there a situation though, because you might not want to go through the tender process every year?
It could be noted that we could look to...
Or maybe you'd have to take a longer contract.
You can agree a 3-year contract, and if you're going to agree a 3-year contract, then you've got to get...
Well, it's not done, let's look at our own policy first to see where we are.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up though, Sean.
And could we possibly note to look into that?
Yeah, let's check our own policy and create our policy that suits what we need. Let's have some local context to our policies. And I think you'll find it's the same on the next item as well.
Yes. Well, item 14. So this is a proposal to reappoint Stone Barn for 24-25. Shall we repeat the same as last time?
I propose to suspend the relevant financial regulation if applicable to enable this to be a single tender.
Brilliant.
Seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, and all in favour?
Yeah, we'll go with that again, having done it once.
On that basis, we're then happy to propose Stone Barn. Are you happy with both those items, Kate? Okay, thank you.
Both those companies do a good job down there.
We wouldn't want to rock the boat, would we? But it's almost like we need to put a little asterisk by that to say it needs to be reviewed on a basis that's appropriate for the type of services it is.
It's interesting
Because the other thing is, if you contract in with a clear contract, you're not open to just price raises that are ad lib or not justified. So, do we want to contract in, or do we want to allow it? Do we need justification maybe price increases on an annual basis, that kind of thing. So, there might be no one else out there willing to do it, which case you get, no return, and then you say, there's your justification, then mechanism for approval. That's all I would hope to stand up.
Right. So, item 15. Proposal to adopt the Town Hall Business Plan. Now, it's quite a long document.
I was going to actually, do you want to defer this? Because Caroline was going to come and speak, but obviously she sent her apologies because she has COVID. So she would like to come to your January meeting.
Yes, so I guess that will be up for councillors. I feel that we've had quite a lot of Caroline's time. I think she spoke at great length. She came to a meeting. She's produced a long document. People know her email address. So personally, I don't know how essential it is that she comes.
It's millions of pounds. I think it's quite essential to be honest.
But no, that what more she'll offer than she's already provided in the meeting that she came to.
So, the introductory wise, the idea of adopting that word of this particular business plan is in effect saying that's how, with phase 1, we want that to be run, and those are the targets and aims that we set out as such, and hence the name business plan. There is the potential in this document, which are examples for phase 2 to be decided on, which would produce a different set of parameters and targets and things like that. But the key thing within that, there's no real decision as far as I see it to say we're going to do one thing or the other. It's just saying that this is a proposed business plan for, as it stands, phase 1, as it phase 2. There's not a lot in there that's going to catch anyone out or destroy the idea or anything. But it allows this to be a reference document, doesn't it, and make it public to say we need to see this to happen. If it doesn't, then this will happen, and that's it. And it would replace the previous iteration of that, which was within the old version, effectively. So this is actually something we produced and created as a council that helps us reference decision making going forward.
But am I missing something on this business plan? Because it's a lot of speculation about what could be achieved. There's no actual advices onto the structure of how it's going to be achieved, but actually who's going to be running it, even down to whether, I've said this already in an email to everyone, where the staff are going to be housed. What if we don't get the funding for, all of the funding for phase 2? Is there a plan B? Because there needs to be, so, and also as well, I mean, if you've got to accept a business plan, you can say, well, that's potentially what could be the case, but as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really mean a lot, because we haven't actually organised how we're going to make that come to fruition.
So my idea of, when I saw you emailed that, was the idea in my head, because I just want to discuss it openly now, is to say, my understanding is the community trust will be managing the town hall, but effectively we're saying the business plan that we would like them to effectively adopt is this one on our behalf to run. That's the mandate effectively, isn't
But
it?
the community trust is Alex.
Yeah. But that's within this is the funding and the
Alex
structure
can't
to
do all
be able
this
to
on
do
his
it.
own.
The problem is there are fundamental problems with the numbers in the business plan. So, I mean, as far as the business plan goes, presentation is good, the structure is good, the clarity of the business plan is good. But then it falls down on the actual numbers, and I don't think we can adopt a business plan that isn't financially sound, viable, and reflects the true costs that we're going to incur in this project.
So what you're saying there is you'd like Caroline to come back and explain some of these things further?
I don't need to explain. I need her to change the numbers. I mean, first of all, if we look at the numbers that are in there, the public works zone first of all isn't in there. So £44,000 is a cost that has to be included, unless when the previous council decided to take on that public works loan, they decided that they were going to absorb that, and it was going to be nothing to do with the town hall.
That is the case.
Well, that's not what the minutes of the meeting said from February 2022. So that's not the terms that the business loan was taken on.
Okay.
So at this point, the cost of that public works loan is supposed to be covered by the operating of the town hall. Now, so there's a decision to be made there. But secondly, in that year 1 figures, there are no figures in there for fixtures, fittings, furniture, to actually get the the operation running. So if you assume you need £30,000 to get it up and running. There is talk in there about putting in a second screen, but there's no cost attached to
When
it.
was the talk?
The staff costs, there's a staff cost in 2026 for £28,000 staff, but no cost in 2025. In fact, the only cost I saw was £12,000 for Alec. And unless Alec's going to be working 13-hour days, running cinemas every other weekend.
Well, Alex, the community trust.
Has a lot of
I was going to say, I don't know if you were. I mean, the recent Christmas event wasn't just done by Alex.
And okay,
You
well, let me
reckon it was dozens of volunteers. What I would say is that the town council has never, this town council has never run the town hall. That's something that we've never done in the past.
Fine.
And I don't know at what point the town council would decide to start, because that's not the sort of thing town
That's fine.
council.
That's a decision to be made. Who ultimately runs it and how it's run.
But it never has.
What I'm saying is the numbers are wrong. The utilities. There's a utility cost in here of £6,000. Now, it costs me more to run a nightclub one night a week. I mean, you will not run the utilities in that building for £6,000. You won't run the utilities in there for double that amount. You'll be lucky if you're getting away with it at treble that amount. So the utility costs are wrong. So there are lots of issues in here with the costings that need to be corrected so that we get a true representation of what it actually is going to cost to run that building. And then we have a business plan that we can work with. And we can, if we need to, then look at how we can trim those numbers, or whether we need to increase the amount of grant funding that we put into it, or how we finance those costs. But at the moment, the costs you're seeing are completely wrong. So we can't base our activities on figures that aren't correct. I mean, it's got in there some figures to do with bars and catering. It's got a £20,000 figure in there for bar and catering. It then goes on to offset those to the point where it will lose nearly £2,000 a year in bars and catering. So why would you introduce bars and catering into a business knowing that you're going to lose £2,000? There's rent in there, they're paying rent to Midsummer Norton Town Trust of £5,000. So we're giving them money so they can give it to the trust. So the trust can, I assume,
Maintain the wall.
but then the maintenance costs are where? The other thing is that I've been trying to find out, and I've requested to see the accounts for both the trusts so we can understand how those fit into the operating of the businesses. Because
I Sean, sorry, ours have gone, the town trust, not ours because I'm on P45, but the town trust accounts went last week, so they'll be, so they went.
yes, that's yeah. But what I'm looking for is the expenditure and income figures, monthly expenditure and income figures for the trusts, so we can understand the money flow, we can understand the grant funding, how it works, where it works, and whether the current funding levels for the trusts, including the town hall, are viable to run those, because it's a significant jump up from where we were to run this town hall in the way that it's planned to be run here. And we need to make sure we're not going to end up, bear in mind, when we get to the budget you'll see, I mean, this town hall is the big ticket item. We can't afford to do anything else but open a town hall at the moment in the next year.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we've got the finances right, and this business plan does not reflect what the finances will be.
The thing I would say is, have you read the 2015 conservation plan for the town hall? I've sent it to everybody several times. It is the most key document in pretty much the reason for having the trust structure. It's basically formulated the entire town council strategy now for 8 years. It's on the planning portal because it was used as part of the evidence for actually getting planning permission. So has anyone actually read it?
No.
Right, so it's really important. And what the conservation plan says, they looked at the state of the town hall and how it got there. And this time last year, it was in danger of falling down. That's how bad it had got. And the conservation plan identifies, in order for a building to be maintained long term, it needs to pay its way in some form. Otherwise it becomes a council liability. Councils don't put enough money into it, and eventually it fails. We have proof of this. The town hall has been owned by about 5 or 6 councils over the last 120 years. And it's almost,
that's not what I'm talking about.
and it's almost fallen down. So, when we said earlier, the point of having to pay money to a town trust to do the maintenance is because the town trust has one objective, and that is to make sure the building is maintained. The town council may have lots of objectives, possibly to, bring in an income and do lots of things. So that's why we have this.
We're paying money to them. We're paying to the community trust for them to pay it over to the town trust. We've got money going around in circles.
It's not quite. That's because you're not quite understanding the structure, Cheryl.
So, I think it's worth reminding everybody that earlier on this year, quite a few people stood for election on the basis that it was felt that there were some issues in the transparency and the way that the town council had decided its budget last year and the format that took. And also, certainly when I was actually going around canvassing, one of the things that was expressed to me as a concern was, especially if the town council is planning to draw down more on the public works loan for phase 2, how is it that the taxpayer is going to be paying precept to the town, or tax to the town council to finance annual loan repayments of up to something like 125,000, and that the town council has nothing to show for it? It has no asset, it has nothing, and in fact it's all been devolved, and there is confusion at public level. And so therefore I do feel that as a council who's about to set a budget and a precept, that we need to all be very, very clear and be able to address these concerns from the public. And I, for one, am very grateful to Sean for going into this in detail, because obviously I haven't had a chance to go into it, but some of the things he said concern me. And I think that those are the issues, and I think the town council has to be seen to be responsible with public money, and there are things that aren't adding up. And so whilst it's very appreciated that there has been a lot of work gone into this business plan, there are things that perhaps need to be revisited before the town council can feel secure in the knowledge that it's going to sign off a business plan, and that some of the other matters of concern to the public, the taxpayers who we represent, are being resolved. And that includes this whole joining up of the responsibility of the town trust, where the community trust fits in, and how that equates back to what is the council doing about the £100,000 every year it's going to have to pay in public works loan repayment, that is what the taxpayer is funding.
Where did you get the £100,000 from?
Sorry, I just looked at the budget and it said if we draw down, you're paying 44,000 now, and then there was an extra 50-odd thousand if you drew down extra money.
No, I mean currently we are going to have to pay £44,000 a year for the next 50 years. That's in the current.
No.
That is it. So it's £48,000 a year.
No.
That's not how I
What number is it?
No.
I thought it was 44.
No, it's 44 next year.
It's 44 next year.
No.
Beg your
Depending on
pardon.
interest
It's
rates.
44.
Depending on interest rates.
Well, no, because they're fixed. They don't change.
So sorry, I beg your pardon, it's not 100,000, it's 44,000 if you draw down on the whole loan.
It's 44 for next year. Because of the quirkiness of the calendar, there are 3 payments next year. Normally there are only 2 payments, and that's about 30,000. Because it is only next year, only it's 44 because there's 3 payments.
I mean, because we haven't taken the full amount of loan, which is the option's expired now anyway. So that initial loan was drawn down, and that will be the fixed repayments. So that is, the council hasn't committed to going any further than that at the moment. That's just the way it is.
So,
I would say though, I thoroughly recommend people read the 2015 conservation plan for the town hall, because it explains exactly.
I
It's
wasn't
a
suggesting
precursor
that they
to the
shouldn't
business
have.
plan.
I wasn't suggesting that we shouldn't have the trusts. What I'm saying is we need to understand the viability of the trust with the current funding level. Now, if the trust, whichever trust is going to be paying the utility bill, I don't know if that's going to be the community trust or the town trust.
The community trust, like it was when the town hall was owned by Baines.
Okay, so assuming the utility cost isn't going to be 6,000, it's going to be 30,000.
can I just ask a question here?
Well, can I finish what I'm saying, Tim? Sorry. So assuming that the utility costs don't come to 6,000, they come to 30,000. So the community trust has to fund that. Now, if they're not funding it through revenue from renting the building, which is unlikely looking at these figures, well, it's actually impossible looking at these figures, which means their funding will have to come from us, which means we will have to increase the grants to the trust so that they can keep the lights on and pay the heating. So it's important that we see those figures and we work them with this business plan. And now this business plan, you know, it's showing it's showing about £3,000 or £4,000 profit at the end of the first year. That's never going to happen. So let's get an accurate figure and then work out how we can actually fund that and finance it. So what I'm saying is it's a good starting point, but it needs work.
Can I make a suggestion that all those things you brought up that could have been proposed to Caroline at any point when she'd been making this business plan, presented it to us, sent it down to us, we can't again, were put to us so that we would have
Sorry, when did you visit? I've actually been quite busy, so to actually take the time to analyse a full business plan and the finance model within it takes time. So it's something that I've been working on last week. Unfortunately, I'm on a planning committee, I'm also on a licensing committee. I also run businesses.
That's all.
So last week I went through the business plan in detail and understood exactly where the numbers are, and that's what I'm saying now.
That could
Can I,
be
sorry, do we know what the utility costs were before the renovation
This is
were done?
we all
Hang
on. No, Tim, I'm sorry. This, I totally agree with Sean.
And I don't disagree with it.
Perhaps we should have brought this up at some other time, but you know, when we are all busy, I got to be honest, quite a successful business, but I'm not the brains of our outfit. She sat there, obviously. But even I could point out, even I look through these figures, and they are not.
Don't disagree, but
what we
haven't got when we're discussing this here, when we propose things that kind of become like the headlines and the thing that sticks in our heads, is someone to justify where the numbers have come from and explain them.
But that's what was requested when Caroline came in, and I did say, look, you've given us the top line numbers here, but it referred to sheet 2 and sheet 5 and sheet 6, which gave you the context for the final number. So we did say to Caroline, would you be able to supply us with those other sheets that were missing from the presentation? Now those sheets never arrived. I've never seen them.
That's what we need then, isn't it?
Well, we need to understand the calculations that arrive at these numbers, because, as I say, there are numerous numbers
She
here.
replied saying that she hadn't missed them out. I saw that email.
She implied that on this sheet she refers to sheet 2, and she's saying that sheet 2 is covered in the figures that she's put onto page 29, which, to a certain extent, I see what she's saying, and I do agree with her there. But what she's done is then, by that, actually highlighting that, as I say, you've got water sewage at 550, that won't work. You've got utilities at 6,000, that won't work. Property insurance at 5,000.
The thing is, the town council didn't have to worry about this before. That's what I mean. The town council, the community trust, leased the building before.
So explain how. All I want to see is a plan that shows how we're going to keep the lights on, how we're going to heat the place, how we're going to staff it.
That's what the community trust did before.
Where's their plan?
But they were doing it before we closed
this
it. Before we decided to start renovating it, they were running quite a successful cinema and lots of support groups.
So why isn't Alex giving us a plan to show us how he's going to do all these things?
Well,
Can
I
I
think that's what this
just
is.
say, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you on things like what are the utilities going to cost and so on. But the one thing I would say is that previously, when it was run, the town hall was run, it was run by volunteers. And that is right. I mean, you'd have, if the cinema was on, so you'd have volunteers behind the bar, volunteers at the cash point when people were coming in, volunteers to put the chairs out and to put them down again, volunteers to run the film. It was so, and then there'd be a concert, you know, so there was a band coming into play. Again, all the same volunteers would turn up. So you're not actually paying, you know, it's not something for you to worry about from that point of view.
It is something to worry about, Linda, because this is an escalation of those activities. The cinema is going to be running 3 films every other week on 2 different occasions.
Well, that's what it was doing before.
Yeah.
And we didn't, you know, didn't have a problem with staffing then. I mean, I don't know if the volunteers back out and don't want to help, but
the point is that there's a lot of costs here. I mean, these utility costs, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe they've based them on pre-pandemic figures, I don't know. But I know a lot of businesses have seen their utility costs more than quadruple.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a business up the road and say they've gone from 5,000 to 25,000 on their gas bill a month.
Good
A month.
grief.
We've got to do this. We've got to be realistic about it as well. It's easy just putting down any old figures, which at first glance I think that's what's gone on here. But you've got to be realistic of what this is actually going to cost every single month to just keep the building going.
So
I mean, as I say, as far as I'm aware, the town council previously made the decision that it wasn't for the town council to run the building, and it wasn't for the town council to own the building. So it resolved to give away the building and get another organisation to run it, and that decision was made and has been relatively successful in other examples. You're right that having set up something like the Community Trust, the town council has to support the trust. But I think the idea was that town councils don't necessarily have the best mechanisms to run businesses and to run events. So the trust was set up to do these things.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But where at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. When there's bills to be paid and the trust can't afford to pay them, it's us that has to find the money.
Well, certainly in the town trust, we are the corporate trustee, which is interesting. We're not the corporate trustee of the community trust, it's slightly different. If you look at the structures.
So, like, effectively, this is a good plan in essence, and in simplistic sense, we need the figures fact checked.
I think it's.
We can ask that directly to Caroline based on the research that Sean's gone. Anyone else has got any questions? Because a budget is just a budget, it's a premonition, isn't it?
Well, what you said earlier, Tim, is I don't see how this commits us to anything. This is a plan. It's quite flexible.
Yeah, but what we're saying is, what Sean's saying is we need a clearer plan, don't we? More.
It's about what the liability is, because the point is that by this coming to the council, you're in essence saying we approve of what you're planning to do, and therefore, if you've got your figures wrong, the figures that we've approved, and suddenly you need an extra 26,000 for the lecky bill, we'll give it to you. And that's essentially what approving that business plan without actually going into the figures is saying, is that the town council is going to pick up the tab because of the way this is. Nobody's questioning that the town council should or shouldn't own the asset or whatever. The point is that there's a liability here in approving this business plan as it is, and the town council needs to be able to understand that and understand the full cost of that liability potentially. And given that there are issues with some of the figures, they need to be revisited. And therefore, it's better to actually come back with a business plan where the town council will say, yeah, we're fine with that, and we also know that if X, Y and Z happens, it could mean that we'll have to pay an extra X thousand pounds, which we'll take from reserves.
I've got to come straight back to my one question is though, why wasn't this a liability before then? Why wasn't this, the town council's been around since 2013, and this wasn't considered liability in 2018, or 2019, or 2020? It's the same hall. So why is it now become a potential liability for the council when it wasn't before?
Yeah, but I think the confusion here, or part of the confusion here, is that this is a business plan that's on the council's behalf, where we're saying that the community trust are going to run this. So like Sean was saying before, where's Alex or the community trust delivering this business plan? If we're handing over the running of the town hall to the community trust, they should be presenting this business plan.
The way
that we should be approving them to take.
The way I've kind of conceptualised it in my head is effectively we've got like a situation where, as a town council, we make decisions that are in the best interests of everyone, the community, the town. And in doing so, the council made a decision to invest money up front by taking out a loan and getting lots of funding to make sure the building was safe and secure and usable in its first instance. Along with that, as I see it, we have to propose how that would then work financially. Now, it's right for us to question certain aspects of it. We need to do that ASAP so that we can actually get something on with it. But also, this business plan includes the potential for the future of it in case it does need a deficit that would have to be made up, because we'd have to budget for that as well. And otherwise, we'd have to restrict the activities that are in there. We just need provenance to these figures. And then we can confidently say, it's okay as a dry run to hand that over, effectively like a manual for the hall, and go, that's how it should run. Tweak it as you like, do your own thing with it. That's kind of, it's almost like a handover document for the hall, as I see it, conceptually, because effectively the keys are given over and it says, go away and do it. But like Sean pointed out, in a really simple sense, we need proof behind certain figures. If
So we
there are
need
questions
a
of it.
proper
So we-
facility for questioning Caroline,
Yes.
so she can get.
which is why
So
we
rather
need
than us
to-
all send
Yeah.
separate questions, we need. So the only point of bringing a asking to come again is for it to put forward a clearer,
There was
more
one,
accurate plan that is the result of our questioning.
I think we need to ask yourself, what do you think the purpose of the business plan is? Because for me, the business plan is effectively more, it's a draft budget. You're trying to calculate what your running costs are going to be for the year. Now, at the moment, that business plan shows the first year with a £3,000 or £4,000 profit at the end of the year. So what happens if the figures are completely wrong and you get halfway through the year and find that you're narrowing debts
And this
and
isn't
for a significant amount of money?
And that's fine to point out, but the way I see it is that Caroline's producers who paid her to do it, we're going to hold her accountable for that, and we're going to ask the questions around those things, and that's the relevant thing to do when she's here or is available to do that, or ahead of that.
sorry, further down, just one thing. There was one thing further down is that they got on page 31. Non-domestic rates. It is assumed basically they'd be granted charitable status and therefore will qualify for non-domestic rates, mandatory relief of 80%. So whether, but that's a tiny little line right the way down on page 31 out of 61. So
Assumption.
yeah, and it's an assumption. Things like that need to be clear, I think.
Can I just ask something? So, Gordon, you saying previously the town council was never asked to provide more funding for the town hall specifically.
No, it was
So
all about games.
when did the town council take back ownership?
It was transferred in 2019.
Right, so 2019.
Yeah.
So then, since then, not really an awful lot's got on because we had the whole
Sorry.
lockdown.
Sorry,
Okay.
building,
So,
yeah.
but prior to that, Mr. Baines owned it.
Yeah.
So did they have to pay anything towards?
Have you seen the state of it?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
They should
I
have
appreciate
known.
that. But
They
did
should
they
have done
not?
it, would have done,
No?
but we need that answer, don't we?
Yeah.
Because effectively I think
Because you
probably the way it
would-
works
you-
is rented to them and then they ran it and then that was it.
It's like this building here, isn't it? This is a Baines building. We're using it tonight. We give Baines some money to hire this out, I believe.
And the other
Just
thing
as
is-
we used to
so
in the town hall.
Is there precedent as well for like some form of explanation? Because like Auction Hall, I believe, is a different sort of facility, but that's currently run and managed, and the bills are paid by the community trust, right?
Yeah.
So that was a different type of thing. It'd be the same at one point when the same set comes across. Trust alone the deed for that building and responsible for maintaining it. The rent paid to them to do that long term in a viable way, which is why the town trust is really important to know that works. But essentially, the community trust would be the bill payers down there, not like maybe we need to understand how that's all done so we.
But
Kind of know
the
that.
difference is that building needs to be put back together before it can even be used. I mean, if any of those buildings, even this one, if you had any issues with it, it's not going to cost you a couple of £1 million to put it right, is it? It'd be cheaper to knock them down and rebuild it. But the issue we got with that one over there is justifying the millions of pounds to put it right. That's and before you even start thinking about running it, you've got to justify that to the public, haven't you?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
so,
public. I think
and that's the
you justify that to
question.
the public and saying the alternative is to let the building actually go to ruin and be knocked down.
Something has to be
I
done.
mean, if a building's 160 years old, I'd feel pretty guilty if we were the council that let it actually.
And then it's
Be
essentially
knocked down.
that's how we get around to this point, which is to propose to the
Right.
council how we think it might be run, and to propose this and put it in the hands of the community trust as such that's viable and correct and kind of within bounds as a good prediction of kind of what will happen. But if there's issues with it that people are seeing, then it needs to be brought up and addressed with Caroline to see where the proofs come from.
And Sean, did you say there was still an old boiler in there? Because
Well, I don't know. I don't know if there is underfloor heating, I believe, in phase one,
Yes, downstairs.
and so I'm assuming that they've then put in ground source or air source heat pumps, or are they still running a boiler system to run the heating?
Don't know.
Air sourced heat pumps are in the plan. I can't remember if that's phase 1 or phase 2.
Phase two.
Yeah.
It's phase
So,
two.
Yeah.
so that makes a huge difference to the utility costs, because if you're running an old boiler system, it's going to cost a lot of money. If it'll be cheaper if you've got the air source heat pumps in, but it's still going to cost. So
If we do, I mean, we have the option. We've asked for a business plan. Caroline's written one. What difference will it make if we ask for clarification on these figures? So, is it the fact that if Caroline comes back and says the figures for the utilities will be higher then we'll know that, so we will then increase our
Our
community trust grants.
credibility, Gordon, I think it would be what would
Well, I
be
know
important
that,
there,
it's
because you know, and that is important, because like Charles said as well, you know, I mean, we talk about transparency and people knowing where their money's going, so we can't just sit here and go, okay, that's a great business plan, which kind of it's good in principle, but we haven't scrutinised the figures, and particularly the running costs. You know, as well up at work last year, it doubled electricity, you know? I mean, it's just insane. So I think that we need to be realistic about the running costs that
Well,
we can get.
my question was, though, if the costs are higher,
Well, we are...
if the costs were higher, right, so we scrutinise the costs,
Yeah.
and they're higher, what do we do then?
What? Well, at least we know where we are with it, aren't we? We're
No,
not
but
specific-
do we then increase the grant we would give to the community trust to run it in the same business plan, realising it would require extra grant? Or, for instance, what do we do? That's what I mean.
You put the precept up.
I was going to say, if you're going to do that, you're going to
Precept,
put the precept up even more, or something else will have to be compromised, and you have to say no to somebody else.
Cheryl.
I'm just wondering if what we're really looking for here is the evidence to support the assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the key is,
Yes.
is that there have been lots of assumptions, and yes, there's some figures there saying we're going to assume that it's only going to be 90% occupied and that the higher charge is going to be this and so on and so forth. And those assumptions are made right the way through. But I think what is needed is evidence to back up that those assumptions are based upon like-for-like comparisons within the area, for instance. So, for instance, you know, what is a comparable electricity bill somewhere else that's running something similar? Has that been done? And I think that is potentially what's needed, because at the moment, and don't get me wrong, I've tried to write one of these for a public building to convince a council to take it, you know, that the community can take it on or whatever. And these assumptions are the biggest nightmare out. But I think that there does need to be, certainly from some of the points raised, a bit more of the evidence to back the
We need to trust it,
assumptions.
don't we?
Yeah.
You trust it. We did have when she came in the first time, she was very good at explaining lots of the things around it, but the figures would only just happen then. So it was like, well, we haven't got time to do that. So that's kind of within the process now, and we do. If she couldn't come tonight and could have asked these questions directly, it's probable that we need that to happen because there are questions around it. And if we can send them to her in advance so that she can either address those things prior, or that she can then talk about them in person. And then there could be another line of questioning. Hopefully it'll be in time for budget.
Shall I just say again, what we're approving is the business plan that the community trust are going to adopt.
Yeah.
So it's not a business plan for us running the town hall. So we shouldn't have
But we don't want to
liability
failure.
for the. No, exactly. So we don't approve a business plan that means that we have to contribute extra funds to the community trust running it. So we need to feel confident that the business plan is accurate and going to work to the best of our understanding, so that we can hand it over to the community trust and they will be able to run it and we will get the rent and the money from them. They'll be able to cover all the bills. But it's not our business plan as a town council, it's a business plan for the town hall, for the community trust to run this town hall.
Okay.
But we need to feel confident that that is accurate,
That
so
they-
that we're not then going to have to contribute extra funds. Like Gunn says, we may have to contribute some to begin with to help them along in this period. And then the only other cost that perhaps we're liable for as a town council, or that we can contribute to town council, is to make the town hall fit for them to move into and adopt. We don't know what those costs are yet. I haven't seen anybody.
So we need to be confident in the community trust, which is Alex and obviously lots of great volunteers that can keep the doors open for the period of time that has been specified, which is going into the evening quite a bit. So, you know.
Yeah,
So we're saying that, we're going to
before,
assume that Alex can do that.
Yes, that's Karen.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a not, you know, with all these other assets we've taken on, there's a definite case for extra staff, but that shouldn't be a cost to the town. It's the community trust that I need to figure that out through increased, revenue or grant
That's the thing,
funding
is the
or
increased
whatever.
revenue.
you know.
Okay.
I think we're all aware that it needs doing. It's got to be done now. We can't just suddenly pull the plug or anything like that. It's got to be done. And really, phase 2 has to be done. Otherwise, it's almost pointless if we stop at phase 1. What we've got to be is realistic of how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, we just need to know.
Yeah, that's it, really.
Because if, like, for example, in that scenario, if it was phase 1, we might have to subsidise it by 20 grand a year until they can have viable facilities and put that money into staff number, as it suggests. which would then run it at a
Then-
higher level and make it,
You need
you
to
know,
budget
make
that.
it make money. But in those 3 years, if we take 3 years, for example, to get the phase 2 funding on board, that we need to know that that's going to be something we pay for in that period of time while we're putting effort into
And the risk of
people
selling
investing.
if you read the 2015 conservation plan, it makes very clear that what you want to do is make a building have the best possible chance of being able to maintain itself. That is the point of the conservation plan. So what they say is, if we're talking about a situation where the town council has to constantly prop up the finances of the town hall, that is what will be the point of failure for the town hall in 50 years or 100 years, as it was previously. So the conservation plan makes the argument that in order for a building to be sustaining and to be looked after, it has to be in a position where it can make enough of an income to maintain itself.
Sounds very much like a business.
Which is great, but that's not what this business plan is going to do.
Well, it does talk about the business plan, about how the building won't be able to maximise its potential without, ancillary storage and all these things, which means it would always have to be subsidised,
And
which
it
is why it's likely to
Just
not
like you
be
said, it
maintained.
is pointing out that there is a risk of deficit and very, very tight margins as it is at the moment. Even with, we need to factor
Shall
that.
But I think if you just want to take it outside of this context, because I work with innovators who go out to business angels and venture capitalists for investment. And so what they do is they have to present a business plan with 5-year financial projections and everything to the potential investors, and potential investors scrutinise everything about that before they put their money forwards. And essentially, this is no different. The town council is putting the money in.
That's why
And
we,
therefore, the town council should be scrutinising and making sure that this is a viable business plan, because it wants
Yeah.
to ensure that its money is going
that's what,
to agree. It's going to put forward those 2015.
that's
Aims and
effectively our
objectives.
process as well, because we asked for this to be done because we didn't have enough clarity on how it would have been done
Yeah.
previously.
The difference
We're like,
is
we
we've
got to put it
already
out there.
invested.
The
Yeah.
bottom line is, if the figures are incorrect, okay, and there's a shortfall in funds to cover the building running, even if we're still waiting for phase 2, then we need to know that, because that's got to be budgeted.
Yeah.
You've got,
That's the whole
That's
point.
it.
That's- you need to know.
That's it, yeah.
So, yes. it's-
Again, also Killjoy, what I'm going to suggest then is we decide not to approve this business plan adopted at the moment, because we need to speak to Caroline, which we'll do in January. So is everyone happy with that?
No, but I think we should pass the questions on to her so she can answer
Yeah,
them, so she's
let's-
not
yes.
confronted with them at the meeting.
Oh, no,
So
she's
we
fine.
Well, it might be an idea then to go
the
through
clerks.
somebody, through the clerks, rather than her being bombarded. Is that
Send
reasonable?
send us the questions.
Just so if everyone asks the same question, she doesn't have to answer it.
Sorry, just to clarify something then, those pages that were missing, those figures, pages to back up her assumptions there, have they been found? Has anyone seen them? The pages that you asked
that
for?
could be a question to her, can't it?
Well, I sort of
Caroline replied and said there wasn't anything missing and itemised where all that data was.
Yeah. That's what I saw.
Okay.
Okay, but then the source of a lot of these figures is flawed, which means we need to actually find a way to actually get the correct figures. So we can work with Caroline, and I don't know our source on a lot of this information. I'm assuming it's come from the community trust, and maybe on outdated figures, maybe there's some guesswork in there in those numbers.
Well, they also did modelling based on how the town hall was performing before we started the work. So it was generating an income before, it was having a very successful bunch of community groups. So it was managing, it was taking money from the bar. And that was with the sort of rickety old damp.
But we've not seen any figures from the trust to back that up.
Yeah.
There's a difference between turnover and profit, and we've not seen the numbers to understand how profitable each of those sectors were. And you can fill a hall up. I mean, I can fill a nightclub up with people, with drink deals and all sorts of other things. At the end of the night, we've taken a load of money, but we've made no profit.
I remember the community. Well, but then the whole point is we're not into making profit. We're a community trust. We're into, we're into providing a civic service.
Yeah,
and it's obviously something that
Okay,
good.
but net profit is what's going to pay the bills.
Sorry,
Yeah, we need to
can I
look
put
after
in
it.
on that one? Because part of this, it says Alex Davis, manager, Mr. Norton Community Trust, has 9 years hands-on experience of managing not only the town's community buildings and events, but also a dedicated team of volunteers. So he'll know, surely, won't he?
That's
Who
what I was
does?
saying.
Well, then, when we had that last meeting, he was here with Caroline and
Yeah.
we were answering questions. It seemed like, and in fact, the fact of this whole thing is that we've got to make a decision where we're at a point of trust and understanding that we need to make decisions and approve stuff, whatever the mechanism is. But at this point, it seems like that meeting wasn't enough, what is here isn't enough, and we need something more that's got to repeat some of those things.
Because you're right,
Reiterate
that
those
Alex, with Caroline, put the figures together.
because she's putting a name to this. She's
But what I'm
asking
saying,
for
what
trust
Sean's
into it.
saying is that he hasn't seen the figures that these new figures are based on. He hasn't got that evidence. So these figures have been created through Alex's knowledge and experience of those previous years. But can we be certain? Where is that? Can we see that? So with it, like Tim says,
I was going to say as well, did you read the first business plan as well, which was used to get the original funding for WECA?
No.
That's been circulated a few times, certainly if you're on the Town Trust. So I can resend it again, it's really good. So it came up with modelling, it came up with numbers for the cinema, it came up with numbers for comparable community buildings that Community Trust already run. And it used a lot of modelling based on that. So it's worth reading, even if you disagree with the figures, to get some idea of where some of these numbers have come from. The documents, like the 2015 Conservation Plan, well worth reading. Now I will say we probably do need to start moving on a little bit. It's
Can I just ask a question? Do you want us to invite her to the January meeting to go over?
Oh yes, sorry, that's what I'd said, yes,
We
definitely.
know, just but if you speak to her, you now get into a bit of a situation where if you invite her to the January meeting on the 8th of January, you also need to approve the budget.
Can we, rather than doing that then, can we not
So
ask lots of questions on email and get responses on email?
I thought that's what we were going to do.
Yeah,
She can't rock up on a meeting and then we fire questions out.
Well,
We need to be clear on what we...
What I'd suggest is perhaps it's best not to have her to a council meeting. It's limited and constrained by having to get through an order of business.
Yeah, and if we have to approve it on that date,
Well, we can't approve anything with it, but we can certainly spend as much time as we feel is necessary.
no, sorry, but by that I meant, say the figures, she came to us with these figures and they were wrong, but we still had to make that decision on that day, then we're very limited.
We have
Yes.
to our options.
So if we could schedule some time with her before the 8th of January meeting, I think that would be perfect.
Well, you've
No,
got
it's
2
not really a
weeks.
chance of that. We've got 2
It's
weeks.
It's not 2 weeks.
No, we've got Christmas, we shut down for Christmas.
No, it's too soon.
True.
Should come to finance or not?
I never get to shut down.
Should be able to.
Well, no, I think, as I say, I think it'd be better to have a meeting which wasn't constrained by time.
So, do we have a
agenda?
what's the deadline on having this business plan? And why have we got a budget?
Okay.
And what is set by it?
There isn't a deadline for a business plan, but there is a deadline to approve the budget.
Okay, so I mean, normally, what I'd expect to happen would we would have a business plan from the trust or wherever, and we'd use those figures as part of our calculations for our budget and our presets, because it's going to significantly impact our presets, the town hall. So as this isn't going to be able to be complete in time to influence our presets, then I don't think there's any real constraints on getting this complete and get it. I think it's more important to get it right than to get it out quickly.
If they're asked just specific questions, and they can just be filed to Caroline and then they appease, and we understand.
I was going to
From
suggest, maybe, as Sean has just said, you're not going to get the figures in time to approve your budget and preset. What I suggest is that you actually defer this, get some figures and try and get some figures off Alex, off the town trust and community, so you can do your budget and then send us some questions. We can send them to Caroline and defer it till February. Get your budget done first.
Another idea on the basis of that, when you mention Alex in that respect, is that these questions could be put to him and to Caroline
Yeah.
as such. So why
But I
don't,
don't
over the next
think
week
you're
and a
gonna get-
half, why don't we just send this over to him and then
I
we get a
don't think you-
response?
You might not get them before the 8th of January.
No, you can't.
We can ask.
So,
Maybe that's the first question, is we ask what, if we've got issues and questions. We did ask them what time scales.
Are our main concerns actually the running costs of the building that aren't really
I think-
being
I think it's-
clarified? And that includes the cost of the films and
It's whether or not
everything.
it's whether or not it's right, and it will work if we say, look, here's the community trust, here's your building, go and run it, here's the business plan to run it, and if that's wrong, and we're setting them up for failure, we'll then inherently at some point have to say, here's 10 grand again, to keep the lights on. That's the question, so we need to know that that's okay.
We expected the
And that's
running
fine.
costs-
That's fine to ask the question, isn't it?
I mean-
I trust it because I have no idea about these things, but that's the point of getting someone in to tell us how it should be done.
The previous business plan, which again I thoroughly recommend you read, was based on the fact that the running costs were likely to go up unless essential maintenance was done. So I don't understand why the running costs would be so much higher once we've transformed the building.
Because
we would.
We just need the question answered, is this taking into account previous costs, you know, where the numbers come from?
We'll see what the FT budget.
Because most of them are okay.
Right, okay everyone, thank you. Shall we move on to item 16? So we've decided, just to clarify on that, we've proposed to, what did we actually choose to say? To defer until? Yes.
Further information.
Let's have a 5-minute time out for Councillor Plant. So we deferred it to 30.
Is it only 5 minutes?
2 minutes, fine. We can adjourn.
Well, we can put something out.
What are we going to defer?
I will just put defer for the moment until spoken to Caroline.
Right, okay.
If we've got questions, who shall we
Send them to us.
send them to you, and then you can pick the bones out of them and
Yeah.
okay.
So can we give you a bit of a deadline to get the questions in? Can we give you a couple of weeks to get the questions in?
And the next week.
Is that really the best way? I mean, it's not dissimilar to the budget, but I think that a backwards and forwards of emails, I think this requires, in the same way as I suspect Caroline sat down with Alec and gone through numbers with him. I think
What point we're responsible for kind of doing this kind of intricate kind of
Do you
time-based
want to own it?
investigation?
the problem is, I think we're liable in as much as, I say, the buck stops with us. If the community trust or the town trust haven't got enough money to run this building and run into financial difficulties, we're the ones that are going to pick up the tab.
And that's the point of the business plan,
Which
which
is
is to say that won't happen, isn't it? So
Exactly,
we
which
just
is
need to know a few key points on it, surely, and then we're like, right, that's a business plan.
But that's the whole point, which is why the business plan has to be as accurate as possible, so that we know that if there are liabilities coming down the road, that we're aware of them, and we've as best we can, we've mitigated them.
All the community trust can mitigate them effectively. So it's
But what we don't want to do is to say, well, look, we've accepted a business plan, it's great, and and it's going to make £4,000 in the first year, and then so you get 6-7 months down and find that they're 20 grand in debt.
It's easy, you just blame the business plan, don't you?
Well, exactly. But you can't just say, okay, we're going to shut the town hall down because the business plan was wrong.
I think the only thing they can be sure of is the events they were running there before, hoping that they will continue. So that's black and white.
And improved.
Yeah, but it's, the ones that the people they had in renting and the events and the cinema nights, they're the only kind of almost definite-ish things they can actually say. Then the running costs, we don't really quite know yet. Because,
But that's it, isn't it? It's the
but we've got to really investigate that
as
because we know that
realistic as
utilities have
possible.
gone through the roof,
Yeah, exactly.
so that's important. So
But I'm sure, I think Caroline and Wisdom would have taken that into account. We just need to know
it
that.
was not £6 grand.
Right,
£6
thank you,
grand a
Mark.
year? No, not £6
Shall
grand a
we
year.
go on to right? So we've all got our homework as well. We've got a lot of business plans to read. Let's make sure we're all clued up before the next time we see Caroline. Should we go on to item 16 then, which is a proposal to approve the grant agreement from WECA?
Yes, approve it.
Thanks, Deb.
I propose that. It's done this one.
Right, is everyone in favour of that then? Is that simple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just bear with me, it needs a signature. It does need a signature, I'm just finding the paper.
No worries.
So the officers should really sign this.
Right, you've done
No,
it.
I was going to say actually you sign it and then I have to sign it as
Really? Name and signature.
and then I'm going to put them in.
Right. One more try. Sign the name. Should we go on to item 17? So,
Oh no, because I need to sign that before.
all right. So everyone just have a little think about it while we're doing some.
And I need to.
I know that.
Would you like the budget up on the big screen?
Well, we've got a couple of things. Hang on.
No, just the fourth.
Oh, of course, it's the 4th. And it's the 12th and it's the 23rd. Thank you. No, it's good. Right, how are we doing for time? We have, right, it's the last 2 items.
Can I make a suggestion?
And yes, of course.
On the basis of what this next section will be and what we've just discussed, the wording here is to present the budget, which I assume Katie would do on the screen. And at that point, perhaps we should decide whether or not we're in a position to make a decision, because the next thing is to approve the budget effectively in the pre-set next year. Whether or not we can make a decision today based on what you present in a sort of time constraint.
We know you've got until 9:25. You've got half an hour.
Yeah, so that's the time constraint initially. So at the end of what is presented, and if there's questions will come if the time is not allowing, we should defer the decision based on that.
What was that exactly then?
So
Doesn't think we can
Is that a proposal?
I'm proposing that we have it presented to us
Yeah.
as it is stated. As a result of that, if we haven't had enough time to listen
Yeah.
to the presentation, we're not happy at that point to make a decision, we defer that decision because that's the next point, is the
Yeah.
rating. Because we need to ask enough questions.
I'd like to second that, but also add, based upon previous experience,
Yeah.
that setting the precept today, before we know what the tax base is actually going to be finalised at, might be a bit precipitous, because one year
Yeah, that's
our
one of the
tax
risks.
base went down tremendously, and I
Yeah.
had to spend the whole of Christmas reworking the budget.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
one of
was
the risks.
because they'd actually made a mistake. Baines had made a mistake, but they wouldn't admit to it, and we only found out
Oh, really?
the following year. They forgot to account for a load of new houses.
Okay, so to be clear,
and they wouldn't have
to be clear then, that was, are we proposing that we will discuss the budget today, but we will defer the decision on the budget till our January meeting?
Sorry to stand up,
But
but
we also
I want
resolve the
to
precept.
It's not a January meeting.
To clarify, I'm proposing that we see the presentation because only the Finance and Ops Committee has said it and they're proposing that we should see it. And at that point we decide whether or not we're in a position, having had that presentation, to make a decision on whether or not we can approve the precept, which I,
Joe?
those
Well,
questions should
Cheryl
come
pointed
up.
out we shouldn't be looking to resolve the precept at the moment. As Cheryl pointed out, we shouldn't be looking to resolve the precept at the moment anyway, because we're not still in tax base.
But that might be part of the
We could in
presentation.
theory adopt the budget this evening, but I think pragmatically we should just refine that because
I think you're preempting. I mean, to start putting forward deferrals and stuff, I think you've got to follow the process. The process is that we're going to see a presentation of the budget, and then from there, we then have to see which way it goes. Whether it moves towards someone proposing a deferral, or whether someone wants to propose approving it, or whatever. But I don't think we should start the process of a deferral.
well, we already had a proposal and Cheryl seconded.
On that case,
No,
let's just go home
my
then.
proposal was to defer the precept,
Yes, exactly. So I think that.
not the budget,
But I
but the
think,
precept.
but if we actually all agreed that then, so we have, because you've given a proposal and a seconder, so we have to vote on it now. So if you've now resolved to postpone the precept, I think it's perfectly sensible. I think we should resolve that. Are you happy with that, Kate?
Doesn't stop us commenting.
We could.
Well,
I mean,
but we just know it's deferred to the next meeting, that's
Yeah.
fine.
there you go.
But that doesn't stop us commenting on the budget.
No,
It's
no,
still a
no, which is
presentation on the budget.
absolutely. Which is, I brought my glasses specifically.
Well, this has gone to, I wasn't actually going to go through it all today, because it has been twice to the FNO. You had a budget meeting on Halloween, where I went through it by line. And then it went to the last FNO meeting where some things were put in and some things were taken out. So it's really now up to councillors, I have sent it all out to you, to go through and then figures. Cheryl won't have seen this, and I hope the rest of you did, because I sent it out this morning. I can't take credit for that,
It's lovely.
but that is linked to that, so any figures in that it will change. So,
Can I just ask Kate, what the pie chart is important because that shows us an example of, going back to it, because you mentioned in your email as well, the proportion, say, grants and should it be-
at the moment you're spending a quarter of your budget on grants and events, which
yeah, and relevant to the guidance that's out there.
there isn't really any guidance.
Yeah.
But considering you don't know what you're going to spend on the town hall, you do really need to reduce some of the grants. The staffing cost is probably about right. That's normally about 30.
Third, yeah. So that was my question as well, because effectively the mechanism through which we contribute towards running the town hall is via grants. So that would be, it's like a hidden part of it, isn't it? And projects, that would be like, for example, the next project is phase 2,
Yeah.
so we have funding
So
that's phase 2 project. How to separate out?
I had limited groups to make it a bit simple. So, and I've lost my piece of paper because I didn't bring it with me. So projects are really things you want to do in the future, like your public toilets, your youth club. That's your future. That's the future project. That's number 7. So somebody did suggest to me. I didn't change it. I'm just trying to get my figure.
Can I ask another question just while you're finding that, Kate?
Mm-hmm.
Reading along the columns is sort of, we've got the budget, the actual for the 2 previous financial years.
You've got about 3 years back.
Budget actual for this year, we've got 6-month figures in there. Where there are, where there's red marks, is that a change thing?
That's red marks, it's a recent change.
So recent change. Where is there like costs and how do you express? So it says another. This is just the income bit, this first bit, isn't it?
The
This is money coming in.
The income bit.
Okay, so the income's at the top.
The income's at the top.
What I think I was getting at is that where there's been underspend on budget, where there's actual costs, it's almost like there's something missing.
If you looked under estimated expenditure, which is, I know I'm whizzing it on that.
That's fine, I'm with you where it is.
Probably making you feel a bit queasy. It's got your budget, your actual, because remember I did this a few months ago, the figures didn't change. Committed or estimated till March 24.
Yes.
Your totals, your underspend, your overspend. But if you do need to remember, I'm going to whiz down to the bottom. There's several items that were not in the budget and do need to be paid for. So I've actually estimated at the moment, could change, you're going to be about 2.5 over budget.
Sure.
So all the stuff you've underspent on, you've spent it.
So in terms of the lines, the heading's not up fixed at the top of that one now, let's come down with it. Sorry to go right back up to the top. Where there is in that overspend, underspend, so we've got the totals, which is of effectively, when it comes to being an income, it's like a plus figure. I'm just looking at how it's expressed visually so we can kind of read it right. When it's expressed as an income, it's a positive figure, like that one there, £1,000 at the top, miscellaneous income. And then effectively, does it turn into a negative figure?
And then maybe the wrong way round, you just check what I can work out. So a negative is an underspend.
Right. That's good to know because it doesn't necessarily. It's the opposite of obviously what you look at in a business budget, which would be a negative is a. So just a real headline figure there. Obviously, you've identified on the bottom there's money unspent.
So that down there,
you've
got various things that were not in the budget and that we've paid for.
And in a year where there's been huge costs and changes and that sort of thing, that's pretty incredible to be out by like 0.3%, isn't it?
But as I say, it is very difficult setting budgets because you set them 6-7 months ahead and you have no idea what's going to happen 18 months down the road.
The massive thing I noticed from it is there's so much stuff that's carried over as like a budgetary line that's the same as this year, but we hadn't actually spent anything in that category, which is when we come onto the current budget, was just a lot where my questions would be is why we kind of allocate that again, because clearly those numbers are kind of acted now as contingencies to cover the stuff that weren't well budgeted for in previous years. And I know that's now what you've kind of incorporated into it, this current budget, isn't it?
I've been through this for the fine-tooth comb and hopefully touch wood everything is covered. You never know what's going to.
No, it's a budget at the end of the day, isn't it? That's why we keep the cash reserve.
The figure I was going to change, because I've lost it now, was that one there, 25,000 for the grants budget. 25. Somebody, the council suggested taking it down to 20,000 because you are now only doing your grants in 2 tranches, January and July.
On our current spend on that for the last previous 2 years?
Well, at the moment you're over budget.
Well, we decided to increase it because we were going over budget.
No, so the problem is that first of all, the reason we're over is because somebody moved the payments from last year into this year. So we started off £4,000 in debt on our grant budget before we even started. But secondly, the point is that we've got at the moment a commitment of £135,000 in various grants. And a lot of those...
Hang on, I don't get that.
No.
£135,000.
You mean the extra, like Carnival and...
Hang on a second.
community trustee.
So at the moment, the grants and events.
Events, right, okay, if it's events and grants, that's
Well, we've
different.
got £15,000 to this trust, 15,000 to this grant, £20,000 to this grant. We've got £8,000 to the.
But can I just say that I think it's probably good to separate the events from just the maintenance grants, because events are specific.
No, it's grant funding. It's
No,
how
because
grant funding works.
no, it's not, because they're basically sponsoring specific events. The events don't have to happen. I mean, if you think it's not good, or anyone thinks it's not good to have a Christmas event, we don't have to sponsor the Christmas event. And we do, for instance, probably have to keep the community trust running, because it does a lot of community groups and stuff. So yeah, I think the events are slightly different. Do you think so? I think they're different. I think they're different heading.
But the point was with the grant funding we're talking about, we're effectively taking money off the public, and then we're deciding which charities or organisations we want to give it to.
25 grand of that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you could argue, and I'm not going to, you could argue that you shouldn't do that at all. You should let the public keep that £20,000 or £25,000 in their pockets, and they decide if they want to give money to the Scouts or to the to whatever charities they want to.
I think we should run the Christmas event by donations.
So what I'm saying is that for us to take money off the public, and then from us chosen few to decide which charity should get that.
No, but it's just chosen few who decide.
So what I'm saying is that number could quite easily be £20,000 split between two. There's two events in the following year where we look at grant allocations. We've got £10,000 for the first event and £10,000 for the second event, and that I think is perfectly sufficient.
That's what was proposed, wasn't it? 2 rounds of grant funding.
Yeah.
People apply within that time.
Hang on, you're talking about grants as in just community grants?
Yes.
Yeah, it's different from some sponsoring events that were like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
So
why
it doesn't influence the amount that we decide to put in.
No, it means you've got a £10,000 budget for each of those two events.
Yeah.
But
And
we
then
already
you call
decided
rounds.
at the
We call them rounds.
Funding rounds.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you're right. We're getting confused between events and events, but I see what you mean. Like, yeah.
But Sean, the other thing I was going to ask is, like, you know, when you mentioned, like, in previous years there was an underspend, or they allocated 4k and it was then paid in this financial year.
Yeah.
What I want to understand effectively from Kate is such is, when there is an underspend from a previous budget, is that held and carried over to the next year, so it adds into the pot? Because effectively, like, you look at that there, can you highlight the budget line? I've lost it and I highlight now and everyone's benefit. The budget line, community grants line, I'm going to call it that. 25k there is a budget. The actual to 6 months so far is 12k.
No, it's not. It's gone over. You actually.
Okay.
I know, but if we did only spend that, would the money that's left carry over into the next? No, it wouldn't, would it?
No.
So nothing carries
just-
over.
Nothing. You start with a completely clean slate.
Yeah. So we have to set that budget realistically based on what we want to allocate. This year we overspent it, but you're saying, Sean, that 4k of that, which we might be using to say we want to give away 25k, was from last year that we ended up having to put in.
Last year it was allocated in last year's budget,
Yeah.
but it was pushed into this year's.
So the logic
Can
is
I
we could just put it as
explain
20.
that was my error. I was
That's all right,
working alone. I presented just to explain why I went into the next year. I was working alone in the office. I looked at all the grants that were available that needed to go in, but I missed completely the grants that were paid over
That's fine.
over 3 years. So I was advising a local town clerk, Paul, and I missed those completely.
That's all right.
You're talking about something different. You're talking about the radio station and the market.
Yes, but some of that, but some of those figures ended up in the next year's budget
And
because
essentially that's
I missed those whilst advising the
There was a
local town
major
clerk.
principle though at the time, which was different from some other councils, in that most councils will give a grant for that year and that year only, whereas Midsummer Norton was giving revenue grants over a period of 3 years.
Yeah.
And so therefore, by the time you got to this year's grants, you'd already committed to give revenue grants, and those revenue grants that were committed 3 years ago, well, you still had to pay them for this third year, and so that's why your budget went down quite quickly.
So is that now what's incorporated into this number, and is it 20 or 25 grand?
I've just changed the figure because apologies, I haven't updated this column because I've done it on a different tab. At the moment, you spend nearly 22,000 on grants.
Right.
So I've just
Is that-
changed that to be
Because there was a suggestion before that we should put, like, just like we have the community trust's maintenance grant, 15,000, is every year, and we don't plan on stopping it. But things like the radio and the farmers market, we probably expect to continue. So they should be in a separate pot, so we're not just taking it off instantly, because otherwise it doesn't really make any sense to a grant budget, because it's no longer discretionary. So we should just put it a kind of non-discretionary grant budget.
No, well,
It would help me understand it.
You've got, sorry, I've just moved figures around.
Well, we have got different levels of grant. I mean, you've got you've got the grant to the Carnival Club, you've got the grants.
Yeah.
So you have already got that system set up.
Yes, so we should probably add a couple of maybe things to
I
it,
think
because
what
we've already
we've
agreed to the
You've got
radio
normal
grant.
codes for each already, haven't you?
So if you add, so you're
Some.
wanting to add more grants, which will push your percentage up.
It's more like a line that says that, well, you've got their annual grant, so we're giving out 25k, but that indicates that it's a one-off kind of 1 year. Someone applies, we give them a one-off amount.
No, that's the different people that apply,
Yeah.
like the scouts. There's
Yeah.
Dialovide, there's the thing.
And what we're all sort of identifying is that we don't necessarily know what portion of that 25 is something that's been committed long
Yes.
term or is in advance.
So is this Summer
It
Valley
will be-
FM grant coming out of that pot?
Sorry?
Is the ongoing, the 3 year Summer Valley FM money,
No,
is the
right.
farmers market coming out of that?
Oops, no, I'll just take the wrong one.
Because it doesn't look like it's coming out of anywhere else.
Farmers Market, we paid the final year and they haven't applied
Final
since.
market.
Um,
So within that, let me just bring up. I did send you some notes on the budget. I thought I'd opened it up, but I haven't.
It's
I think it's important to understand. I mean, we're looking at certain key little points here. But I think we need to first of all understand where we are overall with this budget, because this budget, to keep the lights on, to keep things running, particularly with that town hall, which is going to be a huge expense in the next year, we're currently looking at increasing the precept by around 20% plus. Certainly,
Based on the first budget.
looking at the numbers, I don't think there's any way we're going to keep everything running and open that town hall, which is a huge expense.
I'm just going to go back to a question because I've just pulled up the notes. Summer Valley, which is the radio, awarded a grant for 3 years over 3,000, 3 years of 3,000, 24 with it last year, and that's been included in with the 25.
I think there's an argument, Sean, that even if the council didn't do anything at all, I think the precept would probably have to rise by about 10% just to maintain pace. That is just the way things are, aren't they?
Well,
It's just,
so
that's just because if you're not increasing it each year, then
Well,
you're actually going backwards. Which
So
is,
so where we are is, yes, there is, well, just to tread water, the budget needs to increase.
yes.
The
Once you
budget,
add
the budget I produced originally at the budget meeting, just to tread water, was at 11%.
Okay, right, so there you go, so 11% just to tread water. With those costs that we're going to incur with this project, the town hall, and the solar centre coming back under our.
Well, the one thing is, I've said this a few times, I've not had a proper answer. The Summer Centre hasn't cost us anything until now.
No, because
It's been run by the Midsummer Norton Association, Community Association, which we gave an award to the other day. Why would we think it would necessarily become a burden from April?
We have to get that mindset of the idea that we are like.
It's not owned by us, and it's not run by us. Why would it become a burden
Well,
to the council?
so are we going to continue to lease the building?
Well, Town Trust, I assume, will be transferring the lease to the Community Trust. That's always been the plan.
Well, it doesn't matter which trust it's under.
No, it doesn't
Who's going to
matter.
pay? Who's going to pay the bills?
The
The
community,
Community Trust.
And where are they going to get their money from?
because it comes from.
Where do you think the
income-
Community Association gets its money from?
The
Well,
income.
this is what I'm trying to ask.
There's the answer then. See,
Well, what's
that's what you're trying to ask.
Tell me the answer.
Well,
So-
the Community Association gets its money from
From-
renting out the Summer Centre.
Okay, and so on what basis is that going to continue when the community association hand back the lease?
Because all the incumbent lease,
Yeah, they're gonna
lease
keep the
hire,
same-
our hire
same
arrangements
groups.
will carry on.
Do you know that, or are you guessing?
Of course they're going to keep the same groups. They're not going to throw it. I think there's no plan for
I'm
the
not
Community
trying
Trust
to
to
out.
throw
I'm trying to
everything out.
understand what happens when the lease gets returned to us.
Why would the Community Trust not lease out to the same groups that provide enough income to support
That's
the
what I'm
Summer
asking.
Centre? But why would they not?
Well,
So,
I don't understand. I don't
so
even
what we-
understand why they hand back the lease. So it's
Because it's come to an end. The lease has come to a natural end.
yeah, and there has to be a reason why they decided that they don't want to renew it.
Well, it's their landlord they'd have to go to and ask to renew, but as far as I know, they've always planned. It came to some people no longer than me, but it's been a long-term lease and it's come to this natural end next year.
But Gordon, so am I wrong? Did you say that they were a charity?
Association.
Yeah. So does that mean they can get funds as with a charity status, like grants from elsewhere that we don't know about to help?
Who are you talking about then?
Well, whoever's running the community.
You're talking about the community association?
If they're running the summer centre, yeah?
The community association?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, how do you know that all their income comes from letting out the space? Could they be getting income from somewhere else?
We could probably look
Because of
at
their
that
charitable
charity.
status. And I did say to you, are they given, I think you were saying they're a bit reticent in actually coming forward. Can we not see their accounts?
Well, I think they're under the level that they have to do. I don't know them.
I just think
they're
it's
all
like,
charities,
as a gesture of goodwill, they're handing it back. What difference does it make?
think-
And also, as well, what maintenance possibly does need doing to the building that we may not know about. So,
Well, it's quite a new building, isn't it? It's quite a new building. It's 20 years old now. Have you read? I was going to say, I hate to keep on picking up. Have you read the Town Trust business plan, which we are all trustees of? Well, I've shared that, and I thoroughly recommend you read it. So it fully expects the Town Trust to be able to generate some income from renting out the summer centre, which owns.
Yeah,
It's a valuable asset, though.
Yeah, but practically they've been renting it out. So who do they rent it out to? How much do they charge per hour to rent it out?
No, are
they going to continue doing that?
I can't keep up even too quickly. Who's
They
been
should
renting
know
out
their
that?
figures.
Whose
Yeah.
figures?
The community association
So-
figures.
We can't ask for them. I thought we were talking about the Town Trust. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. We're talking about the Soma Centre now.
Right.
So
the
basically,
Town Trust owns the Summer Centre.
I don't care who owns the Soma Centre. I'm talking about how the expenses are covered. So who do they rent it out to? How often are those groups? Are they committed that they're going to continue to do that? And do the people running the Soma Centre, is there money only from generating that, or if they're a charity, do they get money from elsewhere? Maybe I'm wrong on this, I don't understand, But and how much are the overheads, what are the running costs, what are the utilities?
I feel like, when we were talking about having a town trust meeting, these are all the questions appropriate to those assets that we should be asking about.
Yeah, I know they are,
those
Tim.
people.
Yeah, we're going to have a meeting next week, but we're talking about the budget now, because what I'm trying to say is, what Sean is trying to say, that ultimately, it doesn't matter whether it's town trust, community trust, or whatever, ultimately it's a town council that will have to stump up any shortfall in any cost for any of these.
Well, no, that's not actually true. It's not actually true at all. The town council gave away the Summer Centre a couple of years ago. Gave it away to the Town
It's
Trust.
coming back.
The town trust is not responsible for it.
Oh my days!
The
I don't
town
know.
council. The town council.
Gordon, I don't get it.
the
If the town trust has the Soma Centre back,
Yeah.
and for some reason the costs have gone up and the revenue's reduced,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be a shortfall in money. Where's that money coming from? The town council.
Town trust.
I missed a little bit.
We are the town trust.
Not quite.
Yeah,
Not
we.
quite. The Town Trust is in a separate legal
Yeah, but if the
entity
town
from the
trust-
council.
It's a ring-fenced asset.
I actually.
What matters is what we're trying to establish
That's
is
also
what
another-
are our
I
liabilities.
can't keep up with it because so quickly. Right. Liabilities.
We're looking at our budget.
Assets and
Our
liabilities.
budget, we need to budget for all potential liabilities coming next year. So what we need to understand is, does the Soma Centre present any liabilities to us? And the answer at the moment is we don't know.
We don't expect it.
So that's the question we
We
can
don't
go back to.
expect it.
Well, it's not we don't expect to. We need.
No, we don't
we
expect
need
based
to
on
be
the
diligent.
That's a question we can ask.
Yeah.
Because
We need to be
we've got-
diligent. We need to understand when that lease comes back to us.
So it doesn't come back to us.
That's what we-
You've got to get these terms right, because otherwise it's confusing. If the town council is about to take the lease of the Soma Centre, I'd be very, very concerned. But the town council is not about
It
to
comes,
take the lease
okay,
of
it
the
comes
Soma
back to
Centre.
our trust rather than us.
It's not our trust, it's a trust.
Oh, for goodness sake, Gordon, you're so pedantic about it. The fact is that we're trying to understand liability here, which is we are going to incur liabilities with the town hall. Potentially, we're going to incur liabilities with the Soma Centre. So we have to show some due diligence, look at them, and understand if there are liabilities there. Understand what is going to happen when that lease is returned to the town trust. The town trust is very limited on its funding. It
Sorry,
has,
Sean, can I interrupt? You've got 5 more minutes. Do you want to resolve to extend the meeting?
Yeah.
Thanks,
That's
Kate.
the proposal.
Get used to the meetings. And yeah, we should propose a second item. Well, should we give it? Should we give it?
Can I just make a point?
Should we give it? Should we give it an extra 20 minutes? Does everyone feel? Because it feels like everyone's quite keen to discuss
I'm
this.
sure I put you off on train.
Is that going to be long enough? It's up to you, Sean.
Well,
You can explain
yeah, I mean,
it.
I don't think we're not going to resolve this.
No, we're not.
tonight.
I want to give everyone a
And
bit of
just
time to
just to be
discuss
clear,
it.
there are still significant issues with this budget, which I think are going to have to go back to the F&O this month, and then hopefully tidy them all up and bring it back as a final budget in January. So I think that's the process we're going to look at.
I agree.
Now we have got we already know that we've got a starting point. Kate's already done the calculations. A minimum of 11% increase on the precepts before we do anything else. Potentially, with these potential liabilities, that could easily go up above 20%, 25%. So we've got to be very careful what we're looking at here with this budget. We've taken on a huge commitment over the road there. Whether you want to call it a commitment to a town trust, a community trust, to us, ultimately we're going to be paying for it, a lot of it, if it's not coming through revenue.
Can I just...
No, let me just finish. So we've got to look very carefully. I mean, we've got these extra lines that have been put in. As much as we would like to have more youth provisions and have a scheme for toilets and stuff, really, I mean, Kate could explain the figures, but we have to be really careful with this, because even with that increase in the precepts, we've taken on a lot of commitment here. We've inherited a lot of commitment.
But also you've inherited poor reserves. So it's not like you've got a lot of reserves that you can then just, if you do have a shortfall or whatever, then you've got reserves you can use. Because at the moment, if I've understood the very limited time I've had to read this, it's recommended that you have a certain level of reserves every year, and if you had to dip into that to cover a shortfall for the town hall or something or whatever, then your reserves are going to go, your general reserves are going to go very, very low. And you're not in what I would call the lucky and enviable position of getting loads of SIL money in from loads of developments at the moment that you could potentially earmark for some of the other projects that you've actually allocated money to that you want to do going forwards. So I think it's really important to understand, if there is a shortfall, is that going to be we put the precept up to cover it, we use reserves to cover it, or whatever. And you need to have, I do think we need to have a better overall position. The final thing I want to say, which has concerned me, and Sean actually alluded to this right at the start of the meeting, I noticed from the agenda that it says to approve and discuss the recommendations of the various working parties. And I noticed that it says that the strategy working party has put forward some figures to be put in this budget. But at no point has there been any recommendations put in writing onto an agenda for public dissemination to understand what those are. And I would strongly recommend in future that if working parties are going to make recommendations for allocations of expenditure to be put in a budget, that has to be put in writing as an agenda item so that the public can see what it is that's been added or recommended in this budget from a working party.
Do you mean a full council or F&O?
Well, it doesn't matter whether it goes to F&O and then on to council. Those recommendations have to be written down. I've gone through the minutes.
Thanks, Cheryl and Scott. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Cheryl and Sean. What I would say is that Kate. Yeah, what I would say is the Strategy Working Party did actually submit a sort of brief document to the staff, but unfortunately it never made it through to a meeting. So that's why. The idea is we did discuss something and we came up with some figures. The strategy department, the working party just really felt it was important that we could look at things like providing toilet provision, look at things like investing a little bit in the high street, because that's the feedback that's been. So that's where it came from. But it did produce a document, it did submit it, and that's what working parties do really. It admitted that it wasn't fully costed. But you know, we spent a bit of time going over what we thought the town could do. So we did follow that procedure. It just wasn't
the town council
submitted.
hasn't approved a strategic plan yet.
Well, we said it wasn't enough time.
If you're sending an idea into this meeting, then another idea into this meeting, you're not actually putting together a strategy and then costing town prioritising.
Where the background of that was is that where there isn't a strategy that exists that kind of well explains how we want to act or work as a council, how we want to have the regular commitments to have events or certain things, and then how we want to have like a grant allocation of a certain level to certain bodies on an annual basis, and when we want to take on projects for a certain period of time which will cost a certain amount from the precept, where we haven't got an overriding strategy that's kind of up to date and quite clear. There's a really, really long thing. We wanted to say there is funding, we have funding to go out to a consultation, things like that, to be able to, so, you know, spend £5 on doing that, so we can then build a strategy with a background that we could then adopt. So this is very much infancy stuff, where it's like, we need some money to be able to put aside to be able to pay for consultations, to pay for the strategy to be created, along with taking up staff time, so that we're in that position for a foreseeable.
So the strategy is to spend £5,000 to get someone to write your strategy?
To do consultation by expertise.
Yeah, we need to get help. We need to get help. I think the town council is not
offered to do it. I offered to come and facilitate your strategic meetings when I was as a volunteer without charge to the council. When I didn't get elected, I said I'll still come and do it for you.
We've realised something with those. For instance, we do not have it in-house the ability to produce a neighbourhood plan.
Yeah,
and we think that's why the strategy working party came up and said, look, we're going to have to put a reasonable amount of money aside in the precept to make sure we can pay to get somebody to help us to produce a neighbourhood plan. If we don't put it in the precept, the neighbourhood plan's not going to happen, and it's actually going to cost us more money in the future. That's the kind of basis the strategy working party takes.
Extending from what Gordon's saying and Sharon, your position and expertise, you would have been an appropriate person to do that at the time. I'm sorry that wasn't picked up on. If I've forgotten everything that happened personally, that's the way it is. But effectively, the way I see our roles or potential roles as councillors is that we have all of, like take Martin for example, there's so much voluntary stuff aside from that's not his councillor role. Councillor role is sitting here right now and he's involved in the meetings related to it. If you do loads of voluntary stuff aside from that, that's because that's what you want to do as a contribution to that. It's not really anything to do with the council, but we have to get this understand that if we do stuff as councillors, why are we doing it? We're not proving anything to ourselves or one another or anything like that. Why do we undertake doing loads and loads of laborious work, which then becomes verges on, like with media stuff, it verges on the idea that we're actually taking something that can put monetary value to it that otherwise should be conducted by staff or external consultants that we go through and get, because we can only do so much, and that also limits the quality of something that can be delivered. And then it could just be like the map that Sean's putting time into and stuff. What if we find out that we haven't actually got to pay Ordnance Survey for the licence for the actual background of that kind of thing, and some businesses don't want their things on there and all that kind of stuff. And actually, when you write maps, you should necessarily get them drawn yourself, which has been done in the past and stuff, because they're a piece of artwork that someone owns and buy the copyright to the art, effectively.
So
there's all these little things.
The maps came from Baines. I spoke with Baines officers. We have a map officer.
How do we get back to
in Baines, we have a map officer, okay? So I discussed it with our officer. He supplied with all the data for the maps that I could possibly need.
Sorry,
but this is just getting painful.
All I'm coming around to the fact of is that when we undertake and do things for ourselves, we potentially allow ourselves up from putting loads of time and effort into something.
The problem is that we've got a problem here with the budget. The budget is going to increase. And the Working Party, for all the right reasons, the Strategic Working Party added £61,000 into that budget.
Where did that come from?
It came, what did you say?
Where's the 61 grand?
You requested £5,000 for a consultant, £10,000 for a youth night, £16,000 for CCTV and radios, £20,000 for a community toilet scheme, £10,000 towards business grants for a focus on building facades.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure you're allowed to have that.
I mean, not, but the point I'm making is that we are up against it with this budget.
Yeah, those figures aren't correct, Sean. Nobody proposed £16,000 for, what did you say? That's just
well, Kate put it into the budget.
No, it's incorrect.
Continuing the pitch.
We removed it, didn't we, Kate?
No, I mean, that's just incorrect. You can't just keep on making up and throwing figures at each other. It's not going to... It's not going to...
And if you want to go back and look at it, we discussed the £16,000 and we decided to remove it from the budget.
There's £6,000 in the security budget already, and I think you might be getting confused because there was an idea to add some extra money to that to actually provide some extra security cameras around town. Thank you, Kate. I think we could do some extra security cameras around town, but if the council doesn't agree with that, that's fair enough. The working party decided that we could do the extra toilet provision in town. If you don't agree with that, fair enough. The working party also thought that the high street could do a little bit of investment. If people don't agree with that, fair enough. They're only ideas.
I'm not saying we
They're
don't
just
agree with
ideas
it,
that
Sean, I'm
we're
saying we
working
can't afford it. With the huge cost that we're taking on, the huge burdens we're taking on.
Now, if you want to come up with ideas, now if you look at the budget which has been presented us, I would like to know where the £50,000 figure came from.
I don't know where these.
Where did that first 50,000? If you scroll up, Kate, if you scroll up to the top, there's a line for £50,000. I don't know. Maybe we could start with saying who came up with that figure. And what is it based on?
Where's the 50,000?
It was put in as a provision because.
Do you mean
The red figures on the right-hand side are
No,
things
no,
that
that-
have been added in, aren't they? Like 15,000.
No, they're the
you mean that
What's
one?
that for,
Line
yeah?
107. Line 107.
Is it the one that says 50,000?
Yes.
It's a suspiciously round number.
Yeah, this was mentioned at the F&O meeting, and I was asked where I got it at the F&O meeting, and I did admit I had to pluck a figure because, so this has been mentioned at both budget meetings. Once you get the keys back to the town hall, you're getting the town hall back. It's going to be nice, there's going to be lights, fittings, but that's it. You need tables, chairs, you need glasses, you need stuff in there before you can operate. That's where yes, I have plucked that number out of here. That is.
I don't think that's our issue to fund all that, because it's the community trust that we're doing that.
Exactly. And they own chairs. We already have lots of chairs. Why are we buying new chairs?
But what we
Look,
need
I need to ask a question. Why are we buying new chairs when the community trust has lots of chairs?
Well, no, half of the chairs are being thrown because they're broken and they're damaged. So half of the chairs.
Did they get damaged in the refurb?
Up in the assembly rooms, there are 2 sets of chairs. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so just forgive me. There's 2 sets of chairs. There are some plastic chairs, which I would call plastic chairs, with a sort of a flexible back. Most of those are broken and damaged, and even Alex agreed they'd be broken. You've then got a pile, so those are going to be disposed of. You've then got a pile of nice armchair with cushions and things. They are being kept, but they will need to be cleaned.
Okay, rather than all that detail and stuff may well be like something that comes to a figure, but like what we've sort of already discussed tonight,
the assembly rooms needs painting.
All those things effectively, that's like the startup costs, and that is kind of one of the jobs that we do as a town council. We might fund a project for 3 years, like the radio station, and after 3 years they might be self-sustaining, and the idea is hopefully that. So if there is a startup cost, why isn't it?
50,000 is realistic, if you ask me.
I don't know,
For fixtures, fittings, all of that sort of stuff, the furniture,
we don't know.
that's realistic.
The question I would ask is that not what where is that attained from when you've got a business plan just the same set cost?
You can, in fairness, do it a hell of a lot cheaper than that if you want to do that town hall really nice and then fill it full of crap.
But I'm not questioning the level it has to be. It has to be.
To be fair,
correct. But
Kate has not received any figures from anyone or any quotations or any work from the community trust to say when we open we're going to need these chairs, we're going to need this. The community trust have provided no data, so Kate has taken the initiative and put in provision to cover it, so we don't get caught out
for 1 year.
So she's put in provision.
Did you suggest it, Sean? Did you suggest that it goes in?
Did I suggest it? No.
Well, it's just because it just sounds a bit like.
What does it matter?
I think we should go with
The fact is,
I don't mind. I just want to know where the figure
okay, well, the fact is that Kate put it in quite sensibly as provision because she hasn't been provided any data. Now, at the moment, that figure is split as 30,000 for fixtures, fittings, etc., and 20,000 for additional staff costs, which we're also going to incur with the town hall.
Now, this is what we don't understand at all, because now the working party came up with the idea. The strategy working party said the community trust is obviously going to need some extra staff because it's going to be running an extra 2 buildings.
Yeah.
Now, it seemed obvious that the town council might want to increase the support grant it gives it to pay for an extra number of staff. The town council, as far as I know, has no ambitions on running buildings. That's not what we do. In fact, we're not good at it. So why would we need an extra number of staff to run the town hall? And who decided that?
It's a provision that's been put in because there's been a lack of any data supplied to the park to be able to actually do proper
There's a
calculations.
provision that's been put in. Where was it decided, resolved or discussed? Because I didn't remember resolving.
It's been in there from the very start. So every meeting, every document you've received, it's been in there.
Yes, but how did it get in there just before then?
It's been put in as a provision.
By whom?
Sorry?
By whom?
By Kate. Because she's prudently said, look, you're going to need some cost. Nobody's provided me any data or any information, so I'm putting in a figure for you to play with as a town council.
So the clerk's just added a £20,000 budget for an extra member of staff that the council
Oh, no,
has
the
discussed.
I think we are discussing it.
But
No, but it's already in there.
Yeah, but no, it's wise to do that, Gordon. It's wise.
Good.
Right, let me just say this. Okay, so the town hall project clearly severely underestimated the cost for that place. You know, not enough contingency was added in, and that's why we're in the pickle with we are now. That's why you've got a big fat loan that you have to, you know, you're now drawing down because you couldn't get all the grant funding. There's things going wrong, and this is turned up. We weren't anticipating this, and this is extra cost, and now we've got to do this, that, and the other. You know, when you endeavour a project like that, you've got to allow contingency. So this is wise to put this in. No, and hang on a minute, Tim. And if it's too much, then fantastic. Great, that can either go into reserves, and if there's a miracle, you can not increase the precept as much next year as you anticipated you would.
I think it's don't get me wrong, I'm all
So
in favour of putting enough money in to give the town hall the best chance. I just think some extra projects like a youth club would be really good for the town as well.
Yeah, of course it would.
But the point I'm making is that normally what you would do is your strategy working party would provide a list of proposals with costings. That would then go to either F&O or onwards to town council, and actually fact you could argue either way. And they would say, we would like these to be incorporated into the budget for this year in much the same way as your grants for your community trust and your 8,000 for carnival and whatever. Those are what we would call like your standing grants, not your pot for all the other community organisations to go for. And all of those go in as a matter of course through either F&O or the town council. And also your salaries will be checked over by the personnel committee in terms of, yes, and we agree that there has to be an estimate because we all know the pay rises are late and whatever. And all of that is done prior to it arriving at this point, so that your staff are actually informed at the stage. And we would start this process in October. And that each time you do a little bit more of the budget, and then you've got the town council or F&O, you've got transparency, it's all gone on the agenda, the public knows what's being discussed. You then reach the stage where you look at the budget, 1st of November or whatever, and then you can start to tweak it. If we look at the way this budget has been done, it's very, very helpfully got things itemised in red. And there's quite a bit in there, like £10,000 for youth provision and whatever. The point I was making is that there wasn't any public transparency about those figures and how they were arrived at by a working party. And that therefore it should have at least gone to F&O and been minuted that those were the recommendations of the working party and F&O wanted to incorporate in the budget. That's a matter of process. But at the moment what we're doing here is going round in circles, splitting hairs, which isn't achieving anything. You've got a budget, we know that there are certain things that need to be resolved, we need to understand what our liabilities are. So there are quite a few things in there that are nice to haves, but ultimately in January the council is going to have to decide which are the highest priorities. And it's going to have to choose to knock some off or say, yeah, we're going to have all of them, but then there will be an impact on the precept. And we won't know what that impact is until we know the tax base anyway. So we can afford, I'm very sorry, Kate, because I know what this means, we can afford as a council to actually not approve the budget today because there's still too much to do, and there will have to be a series of priorities, and those can be taken once we know what the tax base is and what that will be likely to do.
Sorry, so I'm going to put there, with all those figures in that was in the strategy thing, it was a 30% increase.
In the precept.
What,
so we've already
the
put it down
11% interest, Kate, what would that be in pounds?
I don't know because I haven't got the tax base in. Oh, the 11%. If I take out all the, I haven't got a calculator.
Well, currently our precept is £115. That's
Oh, is it?
It's £115 a year for a bandy property. That's what
Right,
I standard in our bandy. That's what we used to.
Bandy figures for last year. the last 4 years.
150. So you can work out 10% increments.
So you're talking about £1 a month
Yes.
extra.
And the other context of this is that
Yeah,
what I've
good
learned
point.
through looking at all these budget increases and what we're doing is that for some reason, whether or not it's been done on a shoestring intelligently because the community trust is adding value that other councils potentially spend directly themselves. Do you see what I mean, that mechanism? The amount of money that we take as a precept in Middleton Norton compared to others is seemingly very low, which is strange, because there is a lot of value that is provided by functions that the town council kind of, push in different directions. And then it comes around to something like those precept numbers can go up and down based on like an extraordinary year. So if there is 50 grand that's needed by means of justification, is that for 1 year or is that ongoing? And then actually does that need breaking down and saying something like, is that something we then add into the grant for the community trust, and does that come from a reference place like the business plan, which I think it mentions that. So we just need to know where those things come from, and that's still what we're trying to thrash out, isn't it? Because we don't know where a lot of this stuff's coming from.
Well, that's absolutely, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
We don't know. We haven't got any feedback from the community trust or the town trust on their operating costs, their finances. So we don't know what they can absorb, what they can deal with. We've got, as Kate said, if we put in everything that's been suggested, you've got a 30% increase in your precept.
And that would be fine.
Now,
if it was
when you talk
justified.
about percentages, do you acknowledge though that the percentage is quite misleading because we're coming from such a low precept at the moment?
I don't.
You don't acknowledge
You're
that?
one of the higher precepts in the whole of the area.
Now you say which area, so are you comparing us to Shepton Mallet?
No, I'm comparing
Are you
you to
comparing us to
Keynsham.
Radstock?
I'm comparing you to Keynsham.
What's the Keynsham Mallet precept?
£95.
They have
Radstock's a lot more than us.
They have
Radstock is a lot higher than us.
what is their tax base though? They have a higher amount, don't they?
Keynsham have been lucky
Yeah.
because of the extra development. So
Right.
it means that the tax base has increased each year,
Yeah.
which means that they've been able to keep the actual council tax to about 2%. Having said that, when we had one big year of expenditure, we did put it at 6% because we had capital to cover.
Do you know how the Midsummer Norton precept compares to Radstock, for instance?
And Westfield.
And Westfield and Shepton Mallet, as I say, as an example, because we're about half of that.
And it's
So that's
population,
quite a good comparison. I think Radstock's got 160 pounds, we're
What you've got to
115.
do.
I'm not arguing higher, I'm just saying in comparison with our local neighbours in the Summer
That's fine.
Valley, we're very low.
But what this council has to do is to justify whatever increase it's going to do to the residents of this parish. Okay?
Yeah.
And therefore, in actual fact, you have to be able to say, so we've done our due diligence, we've scrutinised it, and and we think that the town needs X, Y, and Z, and therefore that equates to a precept of Y.
And that's a brave decision.
And we can't just compare it by saying, oh yeah, but Radstock is more and so
No.
and so is less.
That's just
I think unless we stand alone and justify whatever percentage it is, it's not. We can't justify it by comparing it with us. We've got to justify what we're doing for the town and why we.
That's why that we came up with saying that the town, there has been an awful lot of feedback saying they would like, for instance, better youth provision. This is universally accepted, it seems. That's why we think it's quite good if the precept has to go up, which it has to anyway. We're talking about very small increment per week for a Band D property to provide some genuine youth provision, which still keeps our precept much smaller than some of our neighbouring towns, but providing great youth provision. It's a real opportunity for Midsummer Norton to provide amazing youth provision that nobody else in the Summer Valley doesn't. But that was what the Working Party was, that's the assumption it's going to, and the only way to do that is to budget an extra £10,000 of precept.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that whatever you want to budget for, it should be transparent and it should have gone through proper putting on the agenda and the recommendations actually approved. Well, I checked the minutes and I couldn't find anywhere this list of up to £61,000 in the minutes of any of the meetings.
You can just, we tried to.
The fact is, we can't do everything in 1 year. Okay. Within this current budget, you want £25,000 for somebody to raise grant money. You want £20,000 for a consultant to do the neighbourhood plan. You want £5,000 for a consultant to help you do your strategy. We've got lots of potential liabilities with the town hall. We've put in some provision, but that isn't going to cover all of it. But there is some provision in there. £50,000, fortunately, that Kate put in at the beginning, has ring-fenced a small provision.
I still don't remember discussing that. I still don't remember
Well, it's
discussing
in
it.
every bloody document.
Yeah, but
we've
it wasn't,
ever
look,
looked
it's
at.
not in the minutes. Let's share it later. It's not in the
Does
minutes.
it matter? The point is
It's-
we're trying to
it's been
actually
in
come
every-
to a conclusion
It's
and
been-
make a
you
decision
mentioned-
as to
you
how we're
mentioned-
going to handle
It was
the next
mentioned
meeting.
on. It was mentioned on the first time we discussed the budget. Kate advised us that she'd added in a provision while we were discussing what we were doing about the town hall. That was in the opening of the budget discussions.
And Kate said, I've done these numbers and this is your budget and over to you.
Absolutely.
And so those numbers Kate worked really, really hard at, and she's put them together, and she said, I've come up with these numbers. She didn't even be in the town hall, Gordon, at that point. We'd never even stepped foot in the building. She said, these are your numbers, over to you. I shouldn't be I'm speaking out of turn, I'm sorry. Bear the way you talk to each other. Bear the way you talk about staff.
But I think we've got to the point where we need to, as Cheryl just sort of alluded to, we need to discuss what we're going to do next, because we've got to 9:45. We've run out of time. Where are we going to go from here? It's going to go to the Finance and Ops meeting.
No.
Any,
It's going to
I
go
think-
round and round. Well, I've been taking notes. It needs the deadline for the precept application is the 6th or 7th. I think it's the 6th of February. It's off the top of my head. It's the 6th of February. Your full council meeting is the day before. I'm going to put a different hat on. As the RFO, I do not strongly recommend you do not agree the budget the day before, the night before the application has to be in. This is why I'm saying
That's unfair, we can't do that.
You've got to agree in January then.
It has to be agreed in January.
Can we bring full council meeting forward?
So, no, not in January.
I mean the February one.
Well, this is what I was going to say. In January, your full council was supposed to be on the 1st. It's bank holiday. I'm not coming on a bank holiday, so I don't know. So it's been pushed back to the 8th. We can either make that meeting very short, take everything out and just have
Yes.
a budget meeting, or you hold a separate budget meeting in January sometime and we can come up with a date. But I held a budget meeting on Halloween. I was going to bring a purple wig, I forgot to pick it up. 4 of you turned out. So, and it needs to be approved, it has to be approved at a full council meeting.
So can we take like a three-legged approach to that and perhaps do as you say, have more of the time in the meeting in January allocated to discuss
So in
this.
January
The F&O can do more work on it, because clearly what we're talking about here is a restriction of time and have enough people at meetings to kind of go over stuff within that time, and then perhaps have another meeting or the next meeting come forward.
Cheryl?
I think for the most part, Kate's done a wonderful job in putting together the budget. And this is the budget, and apart from the outstanding work on the liabilities areas that we've raised, she has included all the various suggestions and everything else. I'm just wondering if what would be helpful is, rather than just revisiting everything again, is to say, right, let's hive out all the things that are extras or potential have got room for manoeuvre, or we need to make it maybe account for liabilities, and just have that list, and that's the bit for discussion.
So
And by that time we'll know the tax base as well, so then we can make a priority decision.
Going back to your group, so on your budget, which I have sent out to you, you've got a group which has numbers 1 to 8 on it. I'm hoping you take homework, this is your homework. So on your, going back to this chart, group 1 is staffing. You can't really amend that, that's a staffing cost. Your training costs, you could amend slightly, but I've got something in there that I'd like to
Sorry, Kate, the staffing cost there does include money for the grant. Somebody looking at phase 2, isn't it? That's a note on the thing.
That includes a grants officer of 20, but it hasn't improved yet, 25,000.
No. So but just to say we discount the
So you
staffing
start,
as sorted.
you start going back to that staffing figure, that one.
Yeah.
You could take it down by 25,000.
Yeah.
So that, yes, that figure, but that's the only amendment that you can do on your staffing. Your training figure, you could amend slightly. I'm going to be a bit presumptuous here. I will be asking, I can't do it yet because I'm still in my probation, I will be asking for 2,000 a year for the next 2 years to do my community governance. But I'm still in my probation, that lasts till February. you might not want me, but that's why I haven't done it yet. So that's route 2. Your running costs, I think you need to increase because you don't know what your running costs are. Your maintenance, that's what you just approved. That's Stone Barn, that's Primrose. So the maintenance is probably is stable. Your IT and support is probably stable because that's all your contracts. We've negotiated. We've taken on a couple new, so that's probably rough with it. Your projects figure. This is what you've been talking about, your toilets, your use provision, that's what the project is. The grants and events, that probably needs to, I know we've got someone here who wants more money, that probably needs to come down a bit because that is quarter of your budget, which is way too high.
Way too high in what respect, Kate, compared to what and where?
Because you've got to, well, it's not, if you increase your budget, if you increase the precept, that percentage will go down.
That's a logical
But
section.
at the moment, 0.25% you're giving away to the public. Yeah.
That's not...
Yeah,
so,
you've got running costs.
so this is where we
You
have
don't know what you're going to... You need... I wrote something out at home and I forgot it. You need a buffer.
So this is where there's like that kind of understanding of like what that grant and event kind of comes under in terms of a strategy, because we have a situation where we have a...
You need a buffer. I'm not going to put anything in earmarked reserves for next year. You've got your general reserves, that's sitting at the correct amount. You're going to have a little bit left, say 80,000-90,000. I'm not going to earmark it because for that much it's not worth it. I'm going to go slightly off track here. As you're aware, I work at councils in Somerset. You know what situation Somerset is. We are all being told across the board, increase your precept, put a buffer in, you don't know what's coming. You're sort of in the same situation. Once you get the keys back to that town hall, that money's got to come from somewhere. So you need a buffer.
And with that context, Kate, in the sense of like, whatever way this council has decided in the past to structure itself in terms of how it delivers on what it wishes to deliver in the past, and obviously we haven't got a vision for the future yet to say that. Sorry, didn't see me. And this is the weird thing when you say like, we've got a quarter of money there that we've got from a precept going towards grants and events, but that's kind of like it's almost like you plant a seed and end up with a tree that kind of grows more stuff, and that's the idea of the community trust and stuff. We're giving money in that mechanism towards that, aren't we? So that's a funny little sort of section.
It's up to us to decide on that, but not now.
No.
So I think what we need to resolve now is that Kate can instruct us that these are the areas that we can make a decision on, which is what you're saying, isn't it? A little bit on one, if we know that the part that is staffing. Those other areas, which are the grant funding things, I think it needs to go to Finance and Ops for a discussion there, for proposals to go to Town Council at the next meeting. The Finance and Ops, like you said, Kate, only the 4 of us came to that meeting, and everybody was welcome to come to that one and discuss it at that point. Very few of us did. And so we've got the Finance and Ops, which we can go and make some proposals on that bring to full council, and then we can either ratify those or agree those, or we need another meeting. So all we're discussing really is the timings of the meetings, how many more meetings we need. Do we just need another Finance and Ops and a January Town Council, or are we going to need extra meetings in there?
So you've got a Finance and Ops in 2 weeks, the agenda will go out next Monday. You've then got full council on the 8th of January.
Well, I'm going to propose that we do not take the budget, accept the budget resolution.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, and it's going to have to go into Finance and Ops, and that's all we can do this evening. And we've got exactly 1 month now to get to the final result, because
the other overriding thing about
if we're happy with that, can we close the meeting at that point? We're happy with that.
Just quickly then, the Finance and Ops on the 18th, I mean, should that one be designated for this then, and everyone try and come?
Everybody is welcome. You can't, if you're not on, you're welcome to come to the F&O, certainly take part in the discussion. If you're not on the committee, you can't vote.
Yeah, okay.
can I also suggest that everyone reads the documents that Kate's sending, because clearly not everybody's reading the documents and understanding what's in the data.
That's
So-
unfair because that has been like seen by a lot of people. The question is around like the understanding of like why have we got such a small amount to play with, and why are we robbing Peter to pay Paul in some of these respects
Because
when there's no
we're
like,
financially up against the wall when it comes to that town hall, and this year, as much as we want to do all sorts of
No, it's just not the town hall. No,
I don't think we
it's
are
to keep
against
it.
it at all. That's a narrative.
Tim, there are fixed costs, and I
narrative,
think
not
that's
narrative, it's a fact.
we've got
It's
a
a
time
financial
scale
fact.
we're working against, you know, and to make agreements. And we've got things that we've agreed, the ground maintenance, that's a fixed cost, the IT.
Yeah.
You know, we can have a whole long other meeting going through it line by line and saying, well, can we make a saving on IT or telephones or things like that. But I think at this point we've got to say, we've got to sort of take the clerk's views on it and say that what they've said is the fixed cost is a fixed cost, and the other things we can make a decision on whether we add those extra things in that amount to 60 or 70,000 pounds, whether we do agree to the total 50,000 pounds for the town hall. You know, those are the things that we can talk about, but there are costs that we've already agreed, grounds maintenance, etc., etc., that we can't. So
I just personally don't see why we're sort of having so much. We have to justify stuff, and it's got to justify. When we're talking about £1 a month, I'd spend.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that in the next
Netflix thing that I don't even spend money on. I'd rather spend it on the amazing stuff that the community trust the town hall will provide, and that's kind of probably what we get away from.
Yeah, but you're sat here. Most people out there are feeling the pinch massively.
I
Yeah,
think people are okay if it's justified and they understand what they're getting. I think we should not take on too much. I think we need to take a breath. I think the town hall, taking up the Stony Centre, I think that a year flies by so quickly. And I think it's the staff that get put under pressure as well when we take on too much. I think we're taking on too much. I think we need to just rein it in a bit and prioritise. Town hall, Stony Centre. Youth provision is brilliant, but it's going to have to wait, I think.
So Gordon,
I think we do too much.
You look at Bristol at the moment.
Sorry, Gordon, Chair.
What's that?
Now you've stood up. We now start the meeting.
Oh no, I'd already closed the meeting.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, sorry, maybe it's because it was
We were
over.
chatting at pocket.
In Bristol, Grant Thornton, I've already said, Grant Thornton, they get a set up.
Yeah, sorry,
Bristol Council are potentially financially unsustainable. They just pat themselves on the back. They just spent 32 million on converting the Colston Hall into the Bristol Beacon.
They're going to go president as well. Somerset gone back. Somerset Council gone back. Yeah.
They made a decision on a WhatsApp group, not a physical meeting, not a Teams meeting, in a WhatsApp group. And that's not do you want to do
having their recommendations to the council put on the thing because they know what
Yeah, well, I'll find the document that was circulated. The
strategy is.